Whoa.
What's
Oh,
up?
shit. Everything okay?
What happened?
There was a gust of wind and almost knocked my fan off the window, and I just caught it with one hand
That's
as
a
it fell.
strong gust of wind, man.
Right? Jesus.
Well, it was kind of laying like this up against the window.
Welcome to the Roundtable podcast. Hi there.
Oh, okay. Hey, how's it going?
Welcome back, everybody. It's well, you don't know this, but it's been a long time since we've all been together. We're you know, casting the shroud of illusion upon your faces as to like the release schedule of things. But well, first of all, I changed equipment, and you can probably tell now. But it's a whole new universe that we're all living in, and we're glad you can still be a part of it.
You mean you?
Yeah. Well. All right,
The more money you put in, the more mic equipment there is. Eventually, there's going to be no bear left.
All the Patreon account just dumps into my hardware fund. I'm BaerTaffy. I'm here with MathasGames.
Hello.
Who's on a coffee run.
I was
Yeah.
on a coffee run.
Did you bring some for
Here
the
now.
class?
Here you go. I have some heavenly donuts.
What the heck is that's not coffee?
That's
It's an
donut
iced
coffee?
coffee. Iced
That's
coffee.
a 2% milk in a big cup.
It's
You
just
broke
made regular
up a-
cream and sugar.
You broke
Regular
up a
cream and
powdered
sugar.
donut and you like blended it with
Yeah.
the coffee they served
I
you.
don't drink iced coffee black. I don't like the taste of iced coffee black. So iced coffee I have with cream and sugar.
All right.
I like my coffee black, just like my metal.
You almost got that out.
Yeah.
RockLeeSmile
You sound like
is
me.
here. Hi, RockLeeSmile.
Hi.
Hey. Also, Northernlion.
When you order iced coffee from McDonald's,
Oh.
and I think the coffee there is actually pretty good,
Is
but
it?
they default to putting cream and sweetener in the iced coffee, which is fine if you want to have cream and sweetener in the iced coffee. That makes sense. But why is the default when I order an iced coffee plus like cream and sweetener?
That's weird that they don't ask.
It's something you should add on the end. Hey, can I have an iced coffee with cream and sweetener? Otherwise, just give me the basic thing.
When you go into McDonald's for a coffee, they're just kind of assuming that you need that flavor in your mouth. That's what people go there for.
I guess it is. It's like, this is a legal narcotic, so we're going to jazz it up as much as we can. But, like, it annoys me I always forget. Like, it comes out, and then I take a sip, and I'm like, shit. Again. I did it again.
They got me again,
God.
those scoundrels.
They don't ever ask, like, how do you want that?
No, it's
That's
all
really
about
weird.
At
efficiency.
Dunkin' Donuts, they ask
I was
everything.
going to say that. Yeah, Dunkin' Donuts, they have the default of black coffee. You have to order specifically. I want the coffee with the sweetener or with the cream
Yeah.
and sugar, that kind of thing.
They have
They
multiple
always ask.
milk choices for you if you want.
Yeah, it's crazy.
In general, I think it's better to give it black, and then if you take a sip and you think it's gross, you can be like, oh, can you put, like, a shot of sweetener into that or something like that, and then it'll be okay. Once the sweetener's in there, I don't know if you got, like, a freaking stoichiometric setup back there that you can get the sweetener out of it.
Well, do you ask,
Stoichiometric.
like, if you say, I want my coffee regular, what does
Stoichiometric.
that mean to you Canadians?
If I
Ask,
went
like-
into McDonald's and I said all of a regular coffee, I think they would just be like, what is this guy talking about?
Like, all right, and like around here, like a large iced coffee regular means 4 sweeteners, 4 creams.
What the
No,
hell?
it doesn't.
No
That is
fucking
exactly
way.
That's
what the-
incorrect.
I worked at Dunkin' Donuts, motherfucker, and in a medium you get
4?
3 and 3.
No, that's objectively wrong. They're
is
misusing
when you-
the terminology.
When someone says regular, at least at Dunkin' Donuts and the places I go to, medium is 3, large is 4, small is 2. That is how
There
much
is-
you get.
You're out of your
So-
goddamn
and
mind.
the other one is 0.
Whole
And
company.
if you want
There
one,
is no
go
0.
fuck
You
yourself.
ask for black if you get 0.
Oh. In Canada, there's a Canadianism called the double-double, which is you go to, like, Tim Hortons, get a double-double, it's 2 cream, 2 sugar.
Double
You gotta
double
roll
is
up
8
the
and
rim.
8 and a large ice and a fucking Dunkin' Donuts. At least in the northeast of America, at the very least. Maybe it's different in other parts.
Their
So if
coffee
I-
is whiter than milk or cream. How does this
Donut
happen?
smoothie, man.
If I go and I order a sweetened, like, so if the regular is 4, I don't even know what you're measuring, 4 units of sweetening
4
goodness.
spoons, like teaspoons,
4
scoops.
jiggers. They got
Okay.
the pouring.
And then they have an automated machine for cream and milk and stuff. And you just hit large, and it just 1, 2, 3, 4.
So I would just get like a cup of sugar, right? They would hand me that.
Yeah.
I
And
order
then you get
sweetened
4
coffee.
shots of insulin afterward.
All right. Well, anyway, this is the Roundtable Coffee podcast. We're going to talk about some games, though, to try to switch it up a little bit.
Lame.
Today's docket, we're going to be discussing the new Assassin's Creed game. I wonder how many times that sentence is going to come out of my mouth over like the next 8 months of doing this podcast.
At least 4 times in the next 6.
Assassin's Creed Syndicate was just announced. We're going to be talking about the very interesting issue between GreenManGaming and CD Projekt Red regarding codes for The Witcher 3, which we all thought is pretty interesting.
CD Projekt.
Oh, Projekt.
Projekt.
My bad.
Oh, wow, you guys are being so racist.
That's Polish pronunciation.
That's their name, Mathas.
All right. Sorry, you're right.
I had a.
Why don't you go to Warsaw and say it to their face?
All right, we can end that there. World of Warcraft lost 3 million subscribers as Blizzard is going in a new direction. We want to talk about MMOs in general, the position they have in the industry at the moment. Also going to be talking about Action Hank. It's Henk. It's not Hank.
It's not Hank. It's Hank.
Hank's
It's not Hank.
It's not Hank, guys.
Rhymes with spank and bank.
Mm-hmm. Rhymes with
platinum Grammy award-winning recording artist Pink.
Pink.
That'll be on the new Guitar Hero.
Yeah. Pink's song "Don't Hit Me." And then
This has to stop.
Why would she have a song called "Don't Hit Me"? It's a cry for help. And Invisible Ink is going to be our other game discussion for today. But to open it up, we do want to discuss the new set list that's been announced for Guitar Hero Live, which is underwhelming, I would say.
I would agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I would agree.
Why don't there about a third or so of them had been in previous Guitar Heroes.
Let's start with some highlights.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah,
What's everybody excited to play in Guitar?
All right.
On hand. I can Google it.
Pierce the Veil, King for a Day. That's one I think that I'd like to play.
A little excited about that, yeah.
I did not expect that in there.
I'm a little disappointed that it seems like, of what we're seeing here, we're going to be subjected to a lot of what we hear on the radio every day in, like, the top 40 set lists. Not even necessarily that, but, like, the alternative stations, what they're playing every single day. I guess it's kind of not realistic to expect to hear the deep cuts on Guitar Hero games, especially now that this is sort of the resurgence of the genre. I suppose it should be expected that they're going to go the route of songs that everyone knows and wants to play. Because it's supposed to be a party game for people that don't really like to play video games. So that makes sense overall. But yeah, that's why you see stuff like the Black Keys Gold on the Ceiling, the Lumineers, Ho Hey. I don't think that's going to be fun to play at all, because it's
I don't think a lot of these songs are going to be fun to play.
No, yeah, like stuff like, the Lumineers song, The Killers When You Were Young, which Ryan made this joke earlier, but like, yeah, thank you for the 8th iteration of that in rhythm games. Fallout Boy, that one actually might be pretty fun. My Songs Know What You Did in the Dark, that one might be pretty good. And then, System of a Down Chop Suey is going to be fun as well. But it's all stuff that we've,
I think I had Chop Suey already.
Yeah. Chop Suey, I think, was in...
Was it RockLeeSmile?
Might have been DLC, I think.
I think it was DLC, yeah. Well,
I remember it being really hard, actually.
Was it?
Like, I was surprised by how difficult it was, which I didn't expect, because it's a pretty simple song.
Mm-hmm.
We got Ballroom Blitz on here somewhere? That's missing.
Well, like, look at the top. So it goes Judas Priest, Breaking the Law, Pantera, Cowboys from Hell, Alter Bridge, Cry of Achilles, Rage Against the Machine, Guerrilla Radio, come on, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Higher Ground, and then Chop Suey. It's like all of those songs I think I've seen already.
I was waiting for the day we was going to get some Alter Bridge up in here, man. Like, that's exciting.
I don't know, like, I know we talked about this before we started the podcast, but super stoked for Skrillex Bangarang.
Mm-hmm.
Really, when I think being a rock and roll hero on stage, I think I want to be like Skrillex.
Dude, I'm not the biggest Skrillex fan, but I could totally see that being like the song where everybody, like all the dudes in the basement, are like, "Oh yeah, this fucking Bangarang. Let's put Bangarang on there as a joke." But really, the guy's like, "I'm stoked to play Bangarang."
I can't wait.
I had a couple songs like that in Rock Band. You'd be like, "Yeah, put this one on as a joke, please."
And you're like, "I love this song."
What if it's like Visions or whatever, where it's just impossibly hard and everybody loves it because of that?
Dude, I forgot about Visions. Holy shit, Visions.
Did anybody actually love Visions?
No.
I don't think so. Like, I'm saying in theory, like the construction of that song was ridiculous.
Possible.
It was just boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Are you guys looking at the song list on the actual website or elsewhere?
The one
I'm elsewhere.
I'm watching one on the actual website, and the crowd in the background keeps waving at me, and it's creepy.
Mathas!
They're cheering at me, and then it
Come back to the fold.
And then it does that obvious kind of like loop where everything like freezes for a second, and then it starts again.
That's just the glitch in the Matrix. They're trying to get you to come back and plug into the system again.
What I mean, for me, it's like, I guess maybe this is appealing to a slightly more contemporary audience, but like Nick was saying, like Painted Black, that was already in Guitar Hero 3, I think. It was a cover, but it was in Guitar Hero 3. Yeah. And then When You Were Young has been in everything. And, you know, Breaking the Law is kind of cool. I can't remember if Breaking the Law was in it, but I had the whole Screaming for Vengeance Judas Priest album in Rock Band. That was a lot of fun, but I'm kind of like, I'm over it. Like, those games didn't mind that much content. Rock Band did with its DLC, but like the track list that was on the disc, there was always like a huge overlap. So to see When You Were Young again and Painted Black again, it's kind of just like...
And the Killers have had several like breakout smash hits since that song came out.
Yeah, that song was like 2006.
Yeah,
anything else from Sam's Town I would have been happy with because I love that whole album. Yeah. They could have just put other songs.
They're a good band. I don't want to rip on the Killers because I like the Killers. It's just like fucking stop playing When You Were Young. When You Were Young and Welcome Home. The only two songs that anyone would ever play online. It's just like, we have literally hundreds of songs to play, and that's still what shows.
And hopefully,
us.
Hopefully this is just the initial like 24 songs, and it'll be, you know, they'll add more as time goes on. But it just for an initial like, bam, this is what you're getting. It's like,
what if this is the whole set list?
And this is the set list. I won't buy this game. I hope Rock Band will be better.
No, it's not going to be the whole set.
No, there's no way.
Keep in mind, though, guys, that they've changed the guitar construction, right? So there's the two sets of buttons. This will at least give us something fresh to do with these songs we've already played 100 times.
I mean, that's true, but it's still the same fucking song.
I know. Just saying.
No, that's a valid point, actually, because that does, you know... That I can see
you
that
just pull
argument.
The charts right through.
I can see that argument being made internally of, well, yeah, they played the song already, but we've got this whole new way to do it, and you know, like you can make chords and shit now. And I'm just trying to paint a good picture on it. I'm still pissed off.
It's not that I'm sick of like playing these songs. I'm just kind of sick of hearing them. Like I could go the rest of my life without hearing Painted Black again. I used to like Painted Black. I was like, it's a pretty dope song. I played it like 100 times in Guitar Hero 3, and I'm like, I don't really need to play Painted Black again.
It started when Twisted Metal Black used it a bunch of times in their promotions, and then they picked it up, so it was just like this deluge of that song for like 5 years.
This is like the one game where I exclusively want fan service all the time. And maybe it's just me, but I'm looking through it and I'm like, I'm not that interested. I want to see more classic rock, basically. That's why I play Rock Band is...
Right, exactly. It's about living out your rock star dreams, not your Skrillex dreams.
Look at these old men.
Well, I'll be honest with you. Like Guitar Hero 1, when it initially came out, was what really put me on the path to loving classic rock. I wasn't a huge classic rock fan until Guitar Hero 1, and I really started liking a lot of the different songs and bands there, and that's what turned me on to classic rock, and now it seems like they're trying to go away from that. Again, I feel like Skrillex would do better on DJ Hero, which is a dead franchise now, obviously. Yeah.
Tell me when they put Guitar Hero Led Zeppelin back on display.
Please do. Give me some Led Zeppelin. I'd be so happy with that. Give me some Boston.
I can get down with Boston. Boston was always our our finale song whenever we play as a family. Always got to be Boston.
It's like Boston, The Police, Rush,
Queen.
It's true. David Bowie. Like I don't want to be like that old man, but is anybody excited about this, or is it just because the games industry, like pseudo journalists like ourselves, are all like mid-20s and up men who are like, you know, what do I care about Skrillex being in this game, blah, blah, blah. Maybe, like, the people at large are actually like, you know, this is a pretty good track list.
It's possible.
We got our finger on the pulse of the nation here, don't we? I think we can adequately represent the interests of those who may be, you know, clamoring for a resurgence of the Guitar Hero franchise.
Just more Rush. Just add, like, more Rush. This is a whole Rush album in there.
Just let me play as Neil Peart. And that way, everyone's happy.
What if they did an alternate model where instead of just buying the setup, like you could buy this whole setup of all these songs, or you can buy for $20 the starter edition, and then you can buy like 3 albums of your choosing.
Oh, don't tell them to do that, though.
It's just an option.
Dude, that
for
sounds
$60, you get 3 albums that you already know you like.
It sounds so clean and pure in the way you're presenting it. There's just... demons will grab hold.
Sorry, it was just an idea. Never mind. Pretend I never said it.
Man, remember when the Rock Band released All of Doolittle by the Pixies?
Did they do that?
They did do that, yeah.
Wow. I know the Rock Band Network just had some stuff that you never even thought you'd want to play, and then you download it, and it turns out you were right. But they they went overboard, man. Like, they got all kinds of stuff on there. So that's maybe kind of I think that's kind of like the onus of, let's just do a bunch of stuff that's come out recently that people will recognize and want to play in the Guitar Hero game. Yeah. Which, let's be honest, is driving the majority of like the funding behind the resurgence. I mean, we were talking about it last time. When you get people like Pete Wentz to show up for a release party at a Best Buy in New York City, you're going for a
different crowd.
You're going for how old we were when we were first playing the Guitar Hero games. Like, that's more or less how they've had to shift the focus. And I think those people want to play Bangarang and just have one person press the space bar at the beginning of the song, and then they all just party and do cocaine. Like, that's what playing Bangarang is
that what this is going for now? This is for Guitar Hero?
This is for 19-year-olds who play Bangarang in their college dorm and then are like, man, this song reminds me so much of 3 years ago. It really takes me back.
Remember those high school days?
Man, when you were young, that song came out when I was like...
When I was young.
In middle school, man.
So long ago.
That song's about me, man. I was young when this came out.
I think it's fair to say that, well, I won't speak for you guys. I think to some extent it's fair to say that we have kind of like a pro-rock band stance relative to the Guitar Hero stuff.
Yeah.
But I will say that I think not rock band specifically, but Harmonix, I think is a little bit more like committed to that kind of music mindset. They're like music first.
Yeah.
I would expect to see a more impressive track list, unless literally the reason the track list is kind of underwhelming is because they're contacting bands and they're like, we don't want to do this anymore. Mm-hmm. But I'd like to see the track list from Rock Band 4. I hope it's not just like largely overlapped.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Although I will say with Rock Band 4, if they brought some stuff back from the previous Rock Band games, including stuff that was released as DLC, I'd be like, yeah, I could be into it depending on what it is. I don't want to play I Think I'm Paranoid again, but...
A lot of these songs are probably the songs they are because of the ease of negotiating the rights management for them. Considering how much negotiation, how much money the legal department probably has to put in, this is like the most efficient way to get their money back is to use songs they already have an agreement with.
That's true. They might not necessarily be forking over extra money that way, but I don't know. It just doesn't tickle me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a lawyer either, so it's just my guess.
You're not?
It's a good guess.
No.
Oh, man.
I wish I was. It would be really handy for a lot of these discussions.
Yeah, that'd be... You have great insight into a lot of the things we talk about ignorantly.
No, I'll just pretend I am and speculate.
Yeah, all right. But Guitar Hero Live is going to be coming on later this year. We're, this, again, we were joking about this being the whole set list. I'm sure they'll be releasing more and more as the days go on. Apparently, there is a Sleigh Bells song in here. I was going to say, they're showing some artists. But yeah, anyway.
Some Christmas songs.
Yo, of all the Red Hot Chili Peppers discography, why Higher Ground again? Like, I don't even like the Red Hot Chili Peppers that much, but the songs that they've had in those games have been fun to play. But I don't want to play Higher Ground again.
They have at least 20 songs that have been in the top 5 of the charts by themselves. Yeah. Like, they've got a lot of options there.
There's tons of options.
I think in there's only been Give It Away, Higher Ground, and Danny California.
And they had Snow so much
DLC. Oh, they did. There's so much more to draw from there than just those, 4 songs. Oh, well.
But not if they already have the rights to it and don't have to pay any extra for it.
I guess. Higher Ground is weird because that was a cover in Guitar Hero 1.
I really am curious how much of a factor that's playing.
Well, I mean, I wonder if a lot of their thought process is, look, we're not sure this is going to do well because we killed the fucking franchise.
I hope they're not approaching new bands with that mentality. Listen, we don't know if this is going to sell, but... You want to maybe try it?
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like that might be part of it. Like, they don't know how well it's going to take off. When Guitar Hero ended, people were like, I'm so sick of Guitar Hero at this point. So maybe they don't want to put in a ton of money right away, see how it's going to do. If it explodes again, then maybe DLC or the next one will be, all new stuff that they forked out a ton of cash for. And so it's something like Nick was saying a minute ago. It's kind of that idea that they don't want to maybe take the risk.
There you go ahead, sip on that milk.
I don't want to like make this go on that much further, but there was IGN had Rock Band 4 as like its game of the month, so they were doing a bunch of exclusive reveals and stuff like that. And there's some cool stuff seemingly coming in Rock Band 4. Like one of the things that I latched onto is they're changing singing, so it's not actually just entirely note matching, but as long as you're actually in tune, you can kind of like embellish and I don't want to say freestyle, but like improvise a little bit, so you're not just doing like a carbon copy of the original source track.
That's a good idea.
It's kind of smart.
I like it.
And no more custom fills, which in a way I'm kind of disappointed with. But there was always that guy who, whenever there was a custom fill for Star Power, would just be like da 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 ba-doom, and then everyone would like lose their rhythm and be like, Jerry, come on. So now for Star Power, like all the fills are gonna be from like this pool of fills that match the style and the tempo of the song, and then they'll just insert those.
Spazzing.
Well,
Yeah.
there was either that or the person that had no fucking idea what was happening when that came across. They just freeze up and like, what?
I
And
feel like the when the singing Star Power happened, people would just be like, ah!
You had to do
in the
that
middle of a
because
Simon and Garfunkel song.
sometimes it wouldn't actually recognize it unless you shouted. So you'd be like, tangled up in blue. Tangled up in blue. Oh! It's a really bad time to do that, because then there's like 16 bars with no singing.
You killed
Oh yeah, tangled up.
Guys, do we know if the Rock Band guitar is going to be the same as the old one, or are they also going the new Guitar Hero route?
I think they said that all of the old stuff was going to be compatible with the new Rock Band game. I don't want to be quoted on that, but I am fairly certain that I read it.
Yeah, that's kind of why I'm asking, because I'd really love to keep my DLC. I know they said they wanted to do that.
What was your all favorite guitar peripheral from that era?
I really liked the Guitar Hero 2 guitar.
The flying.
3,
Yeah.
the Guitar Hero 3 Les Paul for me.
I was a Guitar Hero 2 guy.
I really liked the Stratocaster. Was that Rock Band 1?
That was the Rock Band original one, yeah.
Was that did it have the tapping ones on the top of the fret?
Oh, yeah, that might
have been 2. I can't remember.
Was that 2?
Tapping?
That might have been 2. Yeah, they had the
You mean
original.
the slide roll, the touchscreen or touchpad?
No, that was a Guitar Hero guitar. The Rock Band Strat, they had the 5 finger buttons up where they normally are on the neck, and then they had 5 additional ones down lower on the neck.
That was the original set, I believe.
I really liked that. That was ridiculous.
Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, I think I was a Les Paul guy too with the Guitar Hero 3 guitar.
Yep, that was a good one.
That was a really good one.
Very comfy.
Yeah.
Let us know what your allegiances are, whether they be to Guitar Hero peripherals or Rock Band games, or any combination of those two things. Assassin's Creed Syndicate is coming out October 24th of this year, and I think we're all just honestly shocked.
I mean, I think Ubisoft came out and said, thank you so much for beta testing our game with Assassin's Creed Unity. Here's the actual working version.
Oh, no.
I'm so sick of fucking Assassin's Creeds. I'm so sick of those games. It's
all...
going to be so new, and then the combat's clunky, it's shitty, and all the gameplay is like, look at all the stealth shit you're going to do, and nobody does stealth because stealth is shit in that game. It's the same fucking thing every year, but everybody's like, every time it gets announced, I look at Twitter and everybody's like, it looks so good. People,
it does look
not
good.
learned.
Every time it looks good. Let's be honest about that too. It's like they do a good job of being able to resell you on Assassin's Creed games because they make.
I remember in the fucking pre-alpha gameplay thing they released today, it's like, now we're gonna go into stealth mode. Take off the top hat, and he crouches.
And
I'm like,
he pulled his hoodie up though, man.
That's true. He pulled up the hood.
The thing with Assassin's Creed is that it works kind of like the Sonic cycle, but every year and a half, 2 years, there's actually like a really good Assassin's Creed game that I think keeps pushing the momentum. So it's not exactly people being like, well, I really liked Sonic Adventure 2 13 years ago. It's like Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag was people being like, oh, it stumbled in Assassin's Creed 3, but this is amazing. Like, people love
the
Assassin's
thing I
Creed
remember
4.
reading about Black Flag was like, everything, the pirate parts are great, just take out the Assassin's Creed bits. And then they were just like, no more pirate stuff, back to Assassin's Creed. And I was like, that's not what we wanted.
When Assassin's Creed 3 rolled around, it was not my favorite, but the boat missions were totally new, and I was like, this is great. I love this part of this game. We should make a game based around this. And then they heard me because they wiretapped my house after I signed away my soul to Ubisoft. And Assassin's Creed 4 was terrific. I loved Black Flag. I played the whole thing. It was like one of my favorite games that year.
People wanted a full-on pirate game after that.
Mm-hmm.
They made that, though. They made Rogue.
I didn't play Rogue.
Yeah, that was another one.
What happened with Rogue?
That was a last-gen game.
Yeah, it was
Rogue
last gen, and then eventually came out on PC like 6 months later. But it was after like the ill will from Unity had kind of boiled to the surface, so I don't think it made a big splash.
Huh.
Did you play Rogue?
I didn't play Rogue, no.
Was
I
it
heard
another
okay.
like Black Flag like piratey game? Is that what it was?
That's
now I
what
might
it's-
check it out, because if it's like another pirate game, I'll go fucking play it.
As I understand it, it was
Go
kind
open
of
a
like...
bar.
Because I'm pretty sure what it is that they came out with like Assassin's Creed 4, and they're like, oh shit, people really love this boat stuff, but we're like 80% of the way done Assassin's Creed Unity. So we can't just like, we can't steer into that. So they're like, shit, just, I don't know, get another 100 people and make another Black Flaggy kind of piratey game.
Mm-hmm. Now, I've
And then
seen
make
the...
a 2.5D one in China, and then, you know, maybe like a mobile app that ties into it, and... Anyway.
No, it's...
The list goes on.
Assassin's Creed Syndicate is going to be another iteration of the very same formula we've all come to know and love. But there was Chronicles...
Come to know.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Nick. You said it.
But there was Chronicles that came out a little while ago. I think it was like a month ago now. And that totally changed the game around. That was the route that I thought they were going. I wasn't expecting this at all. They had Chronicles, which is going to have 2 more games in that mini-series that are already planned. And I think one of them takes place in the sort of same scenario that Syndicate is going to be in.
Mm.
Also, when are they going to run out of, like cool words to use as part of the name of the Assassin's Creed games?
When they run out, they'll just start calling them Assassin's Creed again.
Oh, yeah, that's the reboot.
Reboot.
Like, it is very easy to be cynical about Assassin's Creed, and I agree with the sentiment that, like, when I see people getting hyped for it, and I really, and I'm not this kind of guy most of the time, but when I see websites that hugely profited on Assassin's Creed 4 being shitty, being like, whoa, check out the new Assassin's Creed, I'm like, you are, be the change you want to see in the world.
Yep.
Websites that I'm not going to name.
Yeah.
But, like, for real, I can understand it, because, like, Assassin's Creed 2 was awesome, and Brotherhood was awesome, and 4 was awesome. And then people are like, maybe this one will be awesome. But I think every time, I don't know. I can't get excited about the Assassin's Creed formula anymore.
This one's got gangsters and guns, though.
I don't know. Especially because
Environmental
Mordor,
destruction, too.
Shadow of Mordor ended up being, like, a really good iteration on that Assassin's Creed formula.
And had Batman combat that was as good as Batman.
Yeah. Like, the combat was way more, I don't know, satisfying and stylish. And I kind of felt for a while that Assassin's Creed is just coasting on that sort of, like, we've got fluid combat, but not, like, combat with fluids. You get the idea.
Yeah.
I would
I
play
don't know.
that, too, though, if they had fluid combat with actual fluids.
That'd be pretty cool.
That'd
I
be
don't know how they
dope,
would work
yeah.
that out.
It'd be like a hydromancer.
Ever since Batman kind of hit the scene, I feel like Assassin's Creed combat has been lagging behind. It doesn't feel as good. It feels clunky now that we have this kind of rhythm-based combat that exists, and they've never taken the step to adapt and change. And every time it comes out, I'm like, this combat just doesn't feel.
That only makes
good.
me, oh my god, that makes me so sure now that you've introduced the idea of rhythm-based combat. We are so close to a Just Dance Assassin's Creed fusion.
Oh man,
like a year
that's
and a
totally
half.
true.
Bring it on! I'm ready for it.
Assassin's Creed Just Dance.
I think what would help.
Connect integration.
Oh,
It'll
shit.
never happen. But what would help is if after Assassin's Creed Unity, people were like, maybe the franchise should take like a year off to not reboot, but like reinvent itself a little bit. And then in 2015, there's already been like 4 Assassin's Creeds.
Yeah.
Like Rogue came out on PC, now Chronicles is coming out. They announced 2 more Chronicles games, like Bear said, and then Syndicate is announced as well. And you're like, you're Tony Hawking it. You're just like
And meanwhile, Tony Hawk is doing what they were advised to do in coming out with Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 later this year.
Looks really,
Really good.
really, really bad.
No?
Oh, uh-oh.
But
Well, look forward to those dissenting opinions 4 months later, but... Man,
how do you feel about it, Bear? You're the Assassin's Creed guy out of all of us, at least.
I guess I am, aren't I? I didn't even hold that mantle above my head, but yeah, it's tough not to be very cynical, like we've been saying the whole time. It's gonna have to do something that just totally fucking blows everyone away. That's the only way that they're gonna get out of this negative PR cesspool that they're in with the whole franchise. There's not any. I'm looking right now at a blog that Ubisoft posted, on their own website. I'm looking at their list of what they're introducing as, the 7 things you need to know about Assassin's Creed, told to you by the developer of Assassin's Creed. So, you can trust them.
I would know.
But, I like Ubisoft, by the way. They're very nice to me. But, Twin Blades is the first one. We've seen that before.
Didn't it start in 2?
I think so, yeah.
Twin
it's like the
Blades,
whole
the
Assassin's Creed
wrist
2 Twin Blades.
They used the 2 as part of the blades. They showed his wrists in it.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, they did that. That happened. I'm pretty sure we could look at the box art. That was there.
That happened in 2008.
It's the new setting, London. Okay,
everyone's had a different setting.
Yeah,
except for the ones that didn't.
So there is now, I guess, it says nobody fresher than my clique, which is a phrase
Excuse
I
me?
wonder has been introduced to something before.
Are you living mobile right now, Bear? What just happened?
Says you can, I guess, unite the street gangs of London. So you can,
All right,
you can
wanted
get
to do that.
crews together, but I can only guess, we've been told things like this before, that just boils down to, here's this cute, quirky little thing you can do. Yeah. It doesn't really matter. I mean, you can, sure, but...
Is it? I'm curious if it's just another, a reskinning of, the Brotherhood mechanic that they introduced. You can gather all these people, and, you'll have a Brotherhood. I'm like... All right, maybe they're just
That's
gangs.
why we called it Assassin's Creed Brotherhood.
And now they're calling it the family in this one, right? They keep saying join the family as part of their moniker.
Yeah, it's got a Don Corleone sort of style to it, I guess.
You don't fool us, Ubisoft. Mm-hmm. Continue. What else we got?
We got Looking Good, Feeling Lethal, which I don't want to read the whole thing, but I'm just going to venture a guess that has to do with clothing, which is fun.
The top hat.
Looking good, feeling lethal.
Sweet Rides.
Where did they get my Facebook status from yesterday?
You get a burrito or something.
Sweet Rides. You can ride around on chariots.
Yep.
It's London. Cool. And you're getting a stealthy upgrade. As Jacob enters a restricted area, he slips effortlessly into stealth mode.
Yeah, taking off the top hat.
Whipping off his stylish top hat and pulling up the familiar hood of his brethren.
Can he put his arms together in his sleeves and go into stealth mode double?
Oh, no.
Right? Become a monk.
You can just turtle up, just get all your body parts into your clothing.
Roll into a ball and fall over.
For Syndicate, if I'm not mistaken, and I'll fact check that right now just to make sure I'm not spreading lies, but there's no multiplayer, right? They cut the multiplayer for the game?
I think they did, yeah.
And I'm of two minds about this. Yeah, why Assassin's Creed Syndicate won't have multiplayer? I think in a way that might be good to, I don't know, refocus the game and focus on making it a good single-player experience, but that also might just be spin. It seems like once you start cutting features that have been in this franchise for a long time, it can be like a death knell. I remember, this is just an isolated example, it doesn't necessarily mean it'll happen, but I used to be a huge fan of 2K's NHL franchise. And then 2 years in a row, it was the same game with roster updates literally. And then the third year, they cut half of the features in the game. And then the next year, they stopped making it. Mm-hmm. And I was well, I'm not saying that the franchise is necessarily losing momentum, but I really liked the multiplayer in Assassin's Creed. That was, one of my highlights. But I guess if this actually does give them more resources to focus on making the single player workable and, not glitched out to hell on launch, then that's good.
That would be, yeah, that's the ideal line of thinking is they're putting a bigger effort into making sure the game doesn't release as a buggy mess, which...
I want to give you a quote here.
All right.
I'm trying to figure out who this person is. Okay, creative director Mark Alexis Cote. He says, the reason we're doing this is to really focus on the roots of the franchise. Fair enough. That's why all 9 studios are focused on delivering the single-player experience.
Whoa.
9 studios. That's mostly just I didn't realize.
Wow.
9.
That's a lot of people.
That's way more people than should be working on one game, right? Like that seems
too many cooks.
Jeez.
Too many cooks.
No wonder the credits always take like 45 minutes to run.
Credits are longer than the game, man. Jesus. 9 studios working on that. Okay.
That's crazy.
Well, I mean, I don't want this. It's starting to feel more like Assassin's Creed is almost becoming a Madden style of franchise because they have to. Madden every year can't just say we made this a little bit better of a football game. They have to have the big seller, like the point of it. Like there was this was like way back in the day. I haven't played Madden in a long time, but they had the hit stick is what they introduced a few years ago. That was the big revolutionary change. And then every year they're just adding on little unique mechanics. Like maybe one day you'll have the sideline replay that you can like manipulate and then become 2007 circa Patriots Spygate bullshit. But no, it's Ubisoft now is having to go so far as to say like now you can use a throwing knife. Assassin's Creed Syndicate.
Yeah,
it's almost gotten to that point. I really don't want it to be that because I still want these to be good. I still want to play these and enjoy them. But my most recent experience is with Unity and this, the AAA Assassin's Creed releases, and that was just, it was nothing at all appealing to it, that I wouldn't have found in any of the 6 that came before it, which that sentence alone just sort of stands out in my mind of, I could play this, or I could play any of the other 6, and now 8 or 9 that are available that provide better, if not equal, experiences.
Yeah.
The statement you made about the adding and removing features and thing, like, I almost wonder if they look at this in a larger scale and they're like, hey, sometimes we got to actually take a few features out so next time it can be exciting when we put them back in.
It's like taking the goddamn turkey melt off the menu and then 2 years later saying introducing our new turkey melt.
There's only so many features when it comes to third-person stealth action assassination game.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's clear that there's so many people working on this game for Ubisoft and such a huge part of their actual annual revenue, I'm assuming, that they're on like a 3 or 4 year plan at the very least. So I kind of feel like what we're seeing now with this deluge of Assassin's Creed games is like the ripple effect of Assassin's Creed 4 being like, okay, we're going to greenlight a bunch of new stuff because Assassin's Creed 4 was really well received. Yeah. And I don't know, maybe we'll see like a dampening in a year or two based on Unity, or maybe they're actually just going to keep like tripling down. But I agree that, this used to be like a really exciting franchise that people were really enthusiastic about, and now people are like, well, that's not totally true. We're like, oh, a new Assassin's Creed game. If you look at Twitter, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, this looks awesome. I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what, the environment, London sounds like one of the coolest places they've gone to so far. I'd kind of like to walk around it at the very least just to see how they did.
Well, they said that about the Order 1880.
Did we?
1876
I didn't say that.
It was, didn't
People said that about Unity, too. I mean, and again, not necessarily you and not necessarily everybody, but that was their thing, is like, it's like revolutionary France. There's going to be guillotines everywhere, and you can have like 100 people in the city square, and you'll push through them, and it totally won't be framey. And
and they definitely will not just pop into existence in the middle of the sky and
face
fall.
will
The best
melt
thing
off.
that I could come up with to be positive was the environment. So
I think it depends what you're into, too. I think the Assassin's Creed thing is one of those things, like the environment is like, do you like football, basketball, baseball, or hockey, right? It's like, what do you prefer, revolutionary France or like Victorian London or the Caribbean or, Boston in 1700 or whatever Assassin's Creed 3 was.
All right, so I'm gonna make a prediction here that I almost guarantee will be fulfilled within the next 3 years. There's gonna be an iteration of an Assassin's Creed game that's gonna be called Assassin's Creed Ratchet in Time or something like that. It's going to be a game that allows you to traverse through every single past iteration of the franchise, go through
they conveniently already had maps created for them.
Yeah, how weird is that, right?
You'll like
honestly,
go... Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I'm honestly surprised they never did, like, they haven't done like a modern day Assassin's Creed kind of thing.
It's coming. They're working up to it.
They did last year. It's called Watch Dogs.
Oh, Watch Dogs. Watch Dogs.
Which actually I wanted to talk about, not Watch Dogs specifically,
Watch Dogs 2.
but like not only is it that there's too many Assassin's Creed games for my taste, but because the Ubisoft games have been so similar in their format and the medium that they choose to deliver things, with the mini map and the, objectives popping up on it, and then, like a story that represents 15% of the game and 85% of it is side quests and collectibles. Not that I'm saying that's necessarily innately bad. I'm just like, I'm kind of sick of Ubisoft games.
Yeah.
Like, I played
Climb
Far
the
Cry
tower.
4. That was awesome. Yeah, but Far Cry 4 and Far Cry 3, of course, as well, did have a lot of that same, like, climb the tower, unlock more of the map.
Yeah.
Do racing missions, do this kind of mission, blah, blah, blah. But I would like to see, like, if they could make a new Far Cry in a new environment with new weapons every 2 years. I'd be down with it for at least a little while, but the most unique game that Ubisoft has put out outside of the UbiArt stuff in the last year and a half has been South Park: The Stick of Truth, which was great, but it was also, like, 6.5 hours long, 7 hours long.
Short.
Even in the crew, you had to drive your racing car up a radio tower just to try to unlock more of the
Is that
map.
actually true?
No, that's true.
Is that real?
Oh, hold up. The crew has towers to unlock
crew.
more of the map. Yes.
No.
But it's the United States.
Yes.
We already know what that looks
You
like.
don't drive up the tower. You drive to the tower, and then
serious.
Oh,
I'm dead
God.
serious.
I was
There
making
is
a
movie-
fucking
no.
joke. That's
No,
real.
that's real. That
Shit,
is real.
man.
Nope, that is
That's
100% true.
Ridiculous.
I wanted it to be like you took your car and you had to like get enough speed to accelerate up to the top of the tower.
You're gonna hit the
It's
jump
so-
perfectly.
it's so
You
Right over the
break-
top.
Yeah.
so
break
sick of,
the
like,
device
movie tower
off the
device.
radio tower that the bad guy put there, the charismatic bad guy.
Yeah. No,
That
you
apparently
You
is
might just be
6 seconds to
misunderstood.
undo.
you go off
He has
a
a
ramp and it
unique
goes into
haircut,
like GTA slow mode, and you see your guy reach out the window, like
Yeah.
latch onto
Just
this
snatch the thing.
hacking device that was on the top of the tower.
He could just
Even with
cause
Far-
it with his hook.
Even with Far Cry 4, you were saying you enjoyed that. Far Cry 4 was just a reskinned Far Cry 3.
But
Oh,
the environment of
I-
that game
The
is
environment was different.
it makes it. I don't know. I think the environment of a Far Cry game is more meaningful than the environment of an Assassin's Creed game. Like, to me, all the Assassin's Creed games have still largely been. This is okay, except for the Caribbean one, Assassin's Creed 4. There's a little different when you're sailing between islands, but it's mostly been like you're in a city and it's pretty congested and there's a lot of roofs. Like, you can jump on
Everyone is
roofs.
British,
Yeah.
no matter
A whole
where.
lot of roofs and some roof guards.
I thought like the new environment of Far Cry 4 like really allowed them to reinvent the story instead of being kind of like, I don't know, I really didn't like the protagonist of Far Cry 3, but Far Cry 4 is kind of like it's got that Tibetan Nepalese kind of feel to it and like some psychedelic stuff going on. It's not my favorite story of all time, but I thought it was meaningfully different.
I'll defend Far Cry 4 much more staunchly than I'll defend any iterations of the Assassin's Creed series. I think Far Cry's got a really good thing going with it. Like, that's kind of the style that I wish they would apply to Assassin's Creed. I would love to see an Assassin's Creed game every like 2 or 3 years, because that gives me, even if they've already established a cycle where they are spending 2 to 3 years per game, it still feels to me like, as a consumer of content, that they're just overloading. And when the games come out as buggy and as, unsatisfactory as they are, that only lends more to people drawing the conclusion that they're rushing these out the door.
Yeah.
Whereas with things like Far Cry, they're clearly investing a lot of time, emotion, and money into making a unique enough experience that, really drives forward the idea of what they're going for with the franchise. So Far Cry 4, I think, really stood on its laurels a lot stronger.
I'm not going to say Far Cry 4 is bad, but I would argue that it is not that different from Far Cry 3.
I agree with that. It's an iteration. It's not like a huge
you used the
evolution.
phrase reskin, which I thought was a little bit too dramatic.
I don't
but
see it did. I would say, okay, I'm not going to say building the world, the Tibetan world, whatever they're living in, was grossly different. I definitely agree. But the gameplay, the guns, like even the wildlife mechanics and the taking over of the enemy bases, all of that is a direct rip from Far Cry 3. There is very little new gameplay in
Why are
Far
you
Cry
stopping
4.
at 3? Go back to 2. 2 was even pretty similar as well. It was really only one that departed from the
I didn't
formula.
really play 2, so I can't really talk about 2.
Oh,
well, 2 is also boring as shit. So
Is it?
Rolling
Oh,
savannah.
yeah.
I mean, you could
Yeah.
light all the grass on fire. That was fun. I remember that.
I remember seeing that in ads, like you can light the grass on fire. And
Yeah, it was
stuff.
a big deal, man.
Oh, I'm sure it was. I just
Light the
didn't play
grass
2,
on
so I
fire.
can't. I didn't really play 2, so I can't really compare to 2. So I don't know what 2
Compare
is
it to 1, though. 1 was
Far
like
Cry.
One was wildly
Falling.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
One
different.
also came out in like 2006.
maybe even earlier. No,
We're a little ways away from talking about that. I think we don't want them to come out with one iteration every 10 years if you like the first game.
right,
But-
right.
then you'd be
Like-
Valve.
I'm not going to say
better.
Far Cry 4 is a huge departure from Far Cry 3, but the greatest
That's the
strength that
argument
makes
we're
it
using
feel
for Assassin's
no,
Creed.
because for Assassin's Creed they're coming out with more than one a year. Whereas Far Cry 3 came out in 2012 and Far Cry 4 came out in 2014.
So is the argument it's okay as long as there's 2 years between it?
Well, I mean, this is only 1-to-1 example, like 3 to 4. Assassin's Creed, we've been under this deluge since like 2008, 2007. So it is to the point where like, and even before like Assassin's Creed Unity, I don't remember people being so cynical about the amount of Assassin's Creed games. While they were still good, there was very little cynicism except around Revelations a little bit. But I think Revelations people were like, it's the first misstep. And then Assassin's Creed 3, people were like, you know, this isn't really what I'm signing up for. But
Brotherhood and DLC in that region was when I started to get a little cynical, but that was because I'm really cynical.
And I mean, I'm sure like Unity, and you'll be right, in Unity was the tipping point because it was so fucking broken.
Exactly, yeah.
So maybe I wonder if it wasn't broken, people would be as cynical. But
the pictures, the hair and the teeth and the eyes were so good.
If Unity was great, then we would be talking about this in a different light for sure. Yeah. Because Far Cry 4 was also, or sorry, yes, but Assassin's Creed 4 was also great. We would be saying, oh, this is like a really strong franchise that has had 2 good iterations. Yeah, it's coming out every year, but as long as they keep being great, it's not that big of a deal.
It's so much easier for people like us to establish a recency bias just based entirely upon what our experience was with Unity here. Like, that is the poison that they have to deal with. That's what I was talking about much earlier, was they have this PR well that's just full of toxic vitriol spewed at them because they've already failed a couple of times at producing the product that people want. So if they, like, it would be so easy to make the climb out of that if they just waited for a bit for it to die down, but they're trying to fight it as it grows, is the thing. It's like there's just not a ton of benefit.
Ubisoft is under very negative light right now.
Yeah,
they have been ever since Watch Dogs and Unity, and like there's a lot.
Watch Dogs was pretty good though.
Watch Dogs is it's not a great game necessarily, but it's a huge victim of the circle jerk that surrounds it. Mostly because of the fact that they did basically mislead the public about how the game was going to be at E3.
Yeah, and that I don't say hackers, but people dug up the files were still in the game, and they're like, this is how the game was going to look and everything, and they never took them out. They're there.
How ironic that the hackers unveiled the
I know, right?
dangers of Watch Dogs.
Fucking data miners, man.
I'm not saying that Watch Dogs was bad, but that was, like Ryan said, a huge circle jerk to create a massive negative light on Ubisoft, and then Unity was another like kick in the balls.
Well, where are you at, Ubisoft?
I can't help but feel that Assassin's Creed is basically, like, it and Call of Duty switch positions as, like, the most hated annual franchise.
Yeah, we don't even hear about the Call of Duty hate anymore. It just kind of happens now.
Call of Duty Ghosts was good, and then Unity was bad, and I think if you're, like, Activision right now, you're like, yeah. Like, this is, like, the least cynicism around Call of Duty's annual release in a long time.
Yeah,
but I feel so weird about, like, championing this, whatever. But in a way, if you're going to come out with an annual franchise, I kind of would like Ubisoft to look at the way that Activision is doing it, where they have, like, 3 studios. Yeah. So they're actually kind of on a 3-year cycle. But
they're
just with
trying
a game
to do that, but they don't realize that they're not supposed to use all the studios at the same time. Spread them out.
They're like the PS3 of game development. Well, he's all 9 cores.
Yeah,
in a way, it's cool. And I'm not the hugest Call of Duty fan, but in a way, it's cool that there is like, this is a Treyarch Call of Duty game. It's gonna have this character to it, this flavor, and this is a Sledgehammer game, and maybe it'll be like Ghosts, maybe it won't. I forget what the team making the third team is now, because it used to be.
Oh yeah,
Infinity Ward, and now it's obviously not Infinity Ward anymore. But it's cool that they kind of have their own character, even though it's very easy to be cynical about the franchise as kind of just like a money-making product as opposed to a piece of art necessarily. But Assassin's Creed, you're just like, this is an Assassin's Creed game. The commonalities between them are like extremely apparent.
Treyarch, and then I don't know. Well, anyway, yeah. The Assassin's Creed Syndicate. It's coming out October is the 23rd, actually. I think I said the 24th.
Here's a good question. If Assassin's Creed 5 comes out and it's supposedly awesome, would you play it?
Yes, if it's a great game, I will play it.
I'll play Assassin's Creed Syndicate hoping it's a good game. I'll be honest.
I'd rather not pre-order it though.
Yeah,
I will not pre-order.
No, don't pre-order it. God, no, don't do that. But I think I'll play it when it comes out. Assuming, like, even especially if I get a code for it, then yeah, I'll play it when it comes out. But like, I think I'm gonna pick it up and try, because I think I'm still biting on the bait and hook here.
I don't know if you saw the other thing Ubisoft did was last week they were asked in an interview, is the Division, this last Friday, is the Division still on schedule for 2015? And then today they're like the end of 2016. They pushed it.
Did they say the end of 2016?
They said the end of the fiscal whatever year, which is around March of 2016.
Oh, the end of the 2015 fiscal year. Okay.
Yeah, so whenever March 2016 is.
I'm starting to think about this. I only know of 2 Ubisoft studios. They have 9 working on this. There's Montreal, San Francisco.
Toronto got shut down.
Toronto got shut down. Do they have Quebec? I think they have Ubisoft Quebec. Maybe not. But
check it out right now.
Yeah, I mean, like, well, the only reason I'm saying that is if they've got 9 studios working on Syndicate, then it doesn't, like, hold water that they would be able to put the effort toward the Division.
They have maybe 30 studios.
Oh, Jesus.
I am terrified for how the Division is going to turn out, because they fucking super hyper sold it on its a couple initial like announcements, very much like they did with Watch Dogs.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't come out the way that people expect it to, like Watch Dogs, even if it's a good game, people are going to explode.
I need to
literally combust. It's going to
it's going to be a mess.
Light on fire.
Ubisoft Toronto did not shut down. Jade Raymond just left the studio. Okay. So here's Ubisoft. I'm just going to give you the highlights from their studios. They have Red Links, obviously, who makes the Trials games.
Oh, okay.
And then, but of just the Ubisoft city name ones, they have Annecy, best known for multiplayer on Assassin's Creed, Barcelona, Blue Byte Mans, I guess most of these are in France, Ubisoft Sofia, Ubisoft Casablanca, Ubisoft Chengdu, Dusseldorf, Japan, Malmo, Milan, Montpellier, Montreal, Nagoya, Paris, Poland, Pune, Quebec.
Is it Ubisoft Poland?
Yeah.
Wow.
Quebec.
Wow.
Red Storm Entertainment. I think they might have made the first Rainbow Six games. Ubisoft Reflections, Romania, San Francisco, Shanghai, Singapore, Toronto, and Ukraine.
Jeez. Well,
that's like 20. Right there.
That's not even all of them then. Well, anyway, Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Talk to October 23rd, and we'll get back to you.
If it's good, I still can't see myself playing it. I need like a couple years. I mean, this will be a couple years off from playing those games, but I need a fresh.
You need a palate cleanser.
I think I might not even ever play. I might need like enough time. Like I can't see it right now. I'm just like, you could come out with the best Assassin's Creed game, and I'll be like, eh.
Yeah. Did you play Black Flag?
I played probably like 6 or 7 hours of Black Flag and a lot of the multiplayer. I liked it a lot. I never finished the campaign because with Black Flag, I was like, the boat stuff's cool. Combat's a little samey. I don't know. That could use a reinvention. And here we are like 2 years later. Maybe most people don't want that, but I'm not getting what I need out of the franchise right now.
Do you think that the public sees how bad Unity was and they go, oh, well, obviously they know they can't release something that bad again, so that means this time we're guaranteed to get a better game?
No.
I think it works like that?
I think it's like the public opinion, as we're saying, like, has not really been swayed because there's still a lot of the hype machine rolling out of the station as soon as they announce stuff like this.
It just feels like no matter how bad anything is, people pre-order it anyway.
I think 90% of people that bought Unity probably don't think it's a bad game. The people that, talk about this stuff online and are, not because in video gaming press, there's like a huge stratification. There's like, the casual people who talk about video games online on Twitter that we would like interact with are still in like the top 5% or 10% of people within the hobby at all. I think it's like the 1% like us and other professional writers and stuff like that understand the cynicism surrounding Unity. I bet most people bought it and they're like, it's not my favorite Assassin's Creed, but it's still Assassin's Creed. And I think much of the sentiment around Syndicate is probably going to be people that'll find, like, they'll see an ad for it when they walk into GameSpot or something like that. Sorry, GameStop. And they'll be like, oh, Assassin's Creed in England. That sounds cool. Like, at least they're doing something new with the franchise, not just keeping something in France again. I really think that's how most people look at it, which is fine.
Right,
but, I think that a lot of what we discuss is kind of intellectual. and like in a way even kind of like masturbatory. It's like
Fair point.
people are very familiar with the franchise, and I think they want that sometimes. They want that familiarity.
I'm going to add the tag to us on iTunes of masturbatory. I think that's a really good descriptive
Hashtag
keyword.
masturbatory.
All right, moving on from that, we want to talk about, well, speaking of Poland to a certain degree, Ubisoft Poland there, The Witcher 3 coming out next week, I guess it'll be.
7 days from today.
So that'll be actually in like 3 days once the podcast is out, so hype for Witcher 3. Woo. I think we're all pretty hyped for Witcher 3, right? Yeah, we are on that train.
Don't pre-order it, though.
No,
don't pre-order. Like, over 1 million people already have, so if you're one of those, then fine, but don't do it now.
Especially if you're getting a digital digital version. You're not going to sell out. There's no need to pre-order it.
Wait, Mathas, they might run out, though. I've had it happen before online.
All right, no, okay, a bit of a divergence. Have you guys ever experienced that? Have you ever not been able to get a game that you wanted to get because they were out of copies?
No.
I'm pretty sure I have, but I can't remember when or why.
It was a long time ago, if at all.
Never.
I don't think they're even trying to use that as a selling point. Like traditional retailers, like they've realized pre-order it before it goes away is not a valid marketing technique.
I was talking about digital.
Oh yeah, well even further than that, right? But people run out of Steam codes apparently.
Yes, very odd.
Depends on the developer you talk to.
Yeah.
The only thing you should pre-order is Amiibos, because those have a genuine scarcity.
Don't talk to me about
All right, anyway. So there's a little bit of hot water boiling here between GreenManGaming and CD Projekt Red.
Good job.
Thank you. Is that pretty accurate?
We wouldn't know.
All right. So, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt developer CD Projekt Red said that a deal on GreenManGaming that's selling codes, they were selling codes of the game for $40. They are now selling them at, I believe it's like, if not the full 60, I think it's like 10% off at most. But supposedly, GreenManGaming acquired those codes from an unknown source, is what they say. The most important factor of it being they did not buy them from CD Projekt Red. So there is sort of a lively debate going on there as far as key resellers in general, and whether or not GreenManGaming is, kind of within their rights to resell keys they purchased from supposedly valid retailers that are providing CD Projekt Red with the income. Another very important thing to note here is GreenManGaming is not, screwing over CD Projekt Red as much as they would have you believe. I'm just going to call them CD Projekt Red. They're providing the income to the developer just in sort of a circumvented roundabout way, and GreenManGaming is the one that's eating the losses here. They're offering the discount to their own detraction because they are they want to be involved with the sale of that game. So now it boils down to A, are GreenManGaming in the right, quote unquote, in doing this? And B, is CD Projekt Red responsible for allowing even keel distribution of their game across whatever platforms? And then there's the final wild card to all of this, which is something that a lot of people may not realize, that CD Projekt Red and GOG.com, which is where the game is primarily being sold, are, I don't know if they're sister companies or how that actually works, but they are in the works with one another. They work together. They're both based out of Poland. They operate kind of under the same umbrella. I don't know enough about it to make a declaration of what that business protocol is, but they are working in congruence with one another. So it's an interesting situation there. So you have to wonder whether or not CD Projekt Red almost wanted to establish a sort of retail monopoly with GOG to try to push the launch of Galaxy, which conveniently is coming out in beta form right alongside the release of The Witcher 3.
CD Projekt Red wholly owns GOG.
Okay. So there's that. So, around the table. I've never said that before on this show. How cute is that? Oh, man.
Well, I have one core question, and that is why won't GMG disclose their source?
Yeah, that is interesting.
If it's authorized.
That's the real stick in the mud, right? Why?
I'm so uncomfortable with that kind of question, though. It's like that old idiom or the expression of like, well, why can't we like invade your privacy if you've got nothing to hide?
Oh, right. Yeah, but don't take it to that degree with this.
Yeah.
I think this is a question of legitimate business practice.
It could be a sketchy source. Like, I'll admit that if it was all on the up and up, my first instinct would be the same. Like, why don't they do that? But I don't know. Maybe they've got some kind of legitimate competitive advantage over other like resellers that they don't want to disclose because I don't know, companies like G2A or something will pop in and take advantage of it. But maybe not. That like I don't know anything about it, but
just disclose it to Projekt Red then. Right?
That's true. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, you don't have to tell everybody.
What would be then the legal basis? Because I don't want to turn it into a sort of comparison to that argument of if you have nothing to hide, then just show us where you're getting the keys from. They're not at like a moral obligation to tell us where they're getting these things from. I'm concerned about the validity of what they're doing as a whole. I think like I've been really okay with GreenManGaming. Like, I like GreenManGaming, and then, like, up to this point, I think you've been, like, a very reputable service. And then you compare that to something like G2A, who I'm okay with burning bridges with right now, because fuck them. Like, they're notorious and infamous for being a sort of shady, under-the-table reseller of keys.
They've been caught doing shitty shit in the past multiple times.
Just real shitty shit.
Shitty
just the kind of shit.
Shitty shit. Not like regular shit, like shitty shit.
With G2A, it is well known that they have kind of like that separate section of the site where people can resell keys that they have, like not even affiliated with the company, and the company just takes a cut of it, which kind of seems like it's enabling really sketchy reselling, even if the company isn't directly involved in it. They've provided the infrastructure for it to happen.
Yeah. So, like, comparing the two, I think, is apples and oranges. I am surprised at two things here. I'm surprised at how this is being handled, because I never expected GreenManGaming to come out. I never expected either of them to try to make a public scandal about this, because I guess it got to the point now where CD Projekt Red has to come to people like GameSpot and say, these people are doing something kind of awful. Let's bring this to the public light. And now GreenManGaming is having to come out and essentially give them a PR bitch slap, because they responded with like their official statement that said, we wanted to work with you guys, but you wouldn't. So we had to, circumvent the traditional routes that we take here and find a way to provide this game to the customers we have that want to buy it through us. Which, it's kind of an argument that whether or not they're capable of making that is up to debate still too, but there's those two things that very much surprise me with how they've decided to deal with this. And it's all out there now, and it kind of makes them look like kids a little bit. It kind of undermines them both professionally, that they had to basically come out and tell mom that Big Brother was doing something terrible, and let the mediators or like the arbitrators of who's in the right here decide that for them, which is an issue that I never really even expected to surface at all, really.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a lot to say. I think it's just, like you said, it's all kind of out there right now, and we don't have answers. We're probably not going to get answers. Maybe they're both a little bit in the wrong, depending on, what they each did. CD Projekt Red not working with GreenManGaming for whatever purposes that may be, whether it be to further their own GOG goals or whatever, and then maybe GreenManGaming being sketchy on how they got their codes. It's muddy waters, no matter how you look at it.
So
I think...
go
ahead.
Sorry. I think the only real impact for me is just that I'm just going to be a little bit more cautious looking at them. I mean, I've looked at GMG like pretty reputable. I've used them a lot. And I would even go so far as to say I would be fine with being a partner with them if they wanted. But
don't use this platform now to be like, hey.
No, that's not. I just
back.
mean, like, I would say they generally would have my endorsement aside from this one thing that I'm like, all right, maybe I need to be a little bit more cautious and watch out. Because, I guess anybody can fall into traps like this. But yeah, it's not good. But I also don't know enough about it to really have a strong opinion.
Yeah, I actually did. Well, I have an existing affiliate partnership with GreenManGaming, and I had to email my contact there, and I had to say, hey, this is kind of bad. What's going on here? And he provided me their official response in a reply in an email and said, like, hey, this is just a weird thing that we're having to deal with, but don't worry about it. Which I didn't even really say don't worry about it. I just kind of took it to mean, it's being blown out of proportion, which it very well could be. I think it honestly kind of is just sort of a weird playground dispute that they're having that may just be brushed under the rug in a month or so. Well, especially after the game has been released, I think this is all going to be completely forgotten. But
hope so. I
think the bigger discussion point here is just key resellers in general. There's it's a developing marketplace because, as we said, like there's three that I can come to mind with immediately. GOG doesn't really fall under that same label just because they're dealing more with rehashing old classic releases and making them available to play on modern machines. But now with them trying to become a direct competitor to Steam, do we need more people going that route, or do we need more people trying to, provide the 50% off of new game releases by getting them in bulk from Taiwanese retailers or something like that? I don't know. It's like the way that they go around the entire system. Is it that bad of a thing, really, I guess is what it boils down to here.
I think it's bad for the developers, but it's good for the consumer. And I don't know, but I hate that argument because I do think that the distributors should be protecting both parties if possible.
Right.
And the reason that, a company like CD Projekt Red comes out with the game at different prices in different regions is because people in different regions have different, spendable cash, basically, different purchasing power. So if they came out with a game at $60 USD, the equivalent of that in like Ukraine or something like that, not to pick on a country unnecessarily, but that might really limit the amount of people that can play it there, which is not only bad for business, but is also kind of like a feel-bad story. But, it does suck that people are taking advantage of that to benefit, but it does benefit consumers in other parts of the world. But I think it's like, this is such a unique case. We have this really fringe scenario where the game publisher is publishing a game that's definitely going to be their biggest of all time, and for the first time in their history, could be one of the biggest game releases of the year. Like, I don't think The Witcher 2 had nearly this level of push behind it when it came out. So, not only do you have that, this is their biggest release ever, but they own the distribution platform that they probably want most people to buy it on. So it's almost like a little bit of like and not to insult CD Projekt Red, but a little bit of like a have your cake and eat it too. Because the game's still going to be for sale on Steam, which gives the impression of like, oh, we'll work with Steam because we can't afford to like make any enemies there. They're enormous. But we're going to like kind of strong arm smaller distributors to push people towards GOG so that we get more of a share of the profit. And I can totally understand that because this is like their game. This is the biggest thing they've ever done. But at the same time, I can understand why GMG would go outside of, if CD Projekt Red won't work with them, they're like, well, this is a big game for us. So, it's going to be one of the biggest games of the year. We need to, like, get keys for it somehow. And it's just a unique situation.
Yeah, there's the precedent that you're establishing now, though, is they have the freedom to tell people, no, you can't. Yeah, you're a major distribution platform. I think GreenManGaming is in the top 3. As far as, there's Steam, obviously, and then there's everyone else. But, in that same tier, I think GreenManGaming is up there. But CD Projekt Red is more than likely within their legal jurisdiction, I guess, if you even want to get to that point of the argument of being able to say, no, you can't sell this. We're going to sell this on Steam and then almost exclusively on our own distribution platform.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing.
Look at Origin.
Yeah.
Good. They're 100% in the legal. Would make them bad guys? Maybe a little bit, but if they say no, that's their, like you said, that's their 100% in the legal right to say no to you. And if you go in behind their back and do something scummy about it and try and get the keys, in a shady way, they have the right to be like, you can't be doing that because we already said no to you. And for them to come out and be like, well, you wouldn't work with us. It's a dick thing for them not to work with you, but there's also no rules to say that they can't do that. They have the right to say no, and sometimes you just got to swallow it and be like, all right, let's move on then.
I did just realize, by the way, I missed my perfect opportunity to drop I am contractually obliged to say this line as far as my GreenManGaming affiliate is concerned. Damn it. Drop the ball
I
there.
will say, I think it's a business decision for CD Projekt Red, which always has the dangerous thing of being like, coming across as anti-consumer. Like they want to create, they want to strong arm other distributors so that the game is bought at X price and then it doesn't drive down the retail price of it. But it comes across as almost like more of an ethical knock on GMG, from what we know at least, which is kind of like, well, if you're not going to work with us, we're still going to do what we're going to do anyway. But like you're not necessarily going to get as much of a cut of it. It kind of seems like, well, if you're like, we're going to do it one way or the other, so you might as well work with us, which is also kind of, that's like a mafia tactic, basically.
Yeah, very much. Yeah.
But I mean, GMG, I agree with you guys that it has been reputable in the past, and they do offer like really good deals. And my understanding has been, not that I have any insider information on it, that they end up taking the loss on a lot of those games. If they offer like a $10 discount, that $10 comes out of what they earn. Which is a really, I mean, I guess that's what you got to do to compete with Steam.
They're trying to build a community, and then eventually, well, ideally for them, I guess those splits would go away, and they would eventually just sell things.
That makes me think that they're not even in really a big enough position to where they can start to barter with developers and with all the other parties involved to say like, will you take a cut here so we can offer a discount on our distribution platform? They can't really do that, so they have to just take the losses themselves, which I'm sure is, working out to them to a certain degree. Otherwise, they wouldn't still be around. But it's there isn't really any sort of like, who in the hell? Sorry, this has been like the 40th time. The whole podcast. Someone really needs to talk to me. Maybe I should address that, but...
Is it a phone call?
Yeah. I've gotten like 3 phone calls from the same number in the past 5 minutes. Might
You
be
should
an
Google
emergency.
the phone number, man.
I should, actually. You want to do that live?
It's GreenManGaming.
Ubisoft.
Excuse me.
Abort the stream.
They've got the red phone for me. It was like, hey, BaerTaffy's saying something negative. Figure that out.
Said they wiretapped your house, right?
That's true. Oh, shit. Yeah, now I'm starting to freak out a little bit. It's very gray territory still. And, like, I don't know if there really needs to be any sort of, like Supreme Court litigation of are they within their bounds to do this. I think it's just going to be a matter of these companies are going to figure out amongst themselves, all right, obviously there's ways for us to go around you if you say no to us, so let's think of something that is mutually beneficial and not be childish about this anymore, which is probably going to be... Okay, yeah, there you go. Good. Figured it out. Yeah, it's probably going to be what they end up having to do at some point to avoid things like this.
It's never going to happen again. At least not until, like, I don't know, like Half-Life 3 comes out or something like that.
Oh, God.
Like, it's such a unique situation that, like, it's this... Well, I guess Half-Life 3 will just be on Steam. And who cares? Anyway, it's so irrelevant. But, like... GOG is owned by the company making this game, and I don't know. You could totally frame it the other way too. It's like, hey, unlike scumbag EA, they're actually going to sell their games on multiple platforms, but they're just trying to push you towards like the one platform that they own. I don't know. I think this is seriously like the one time this will ever happen with GMG under current management. Anyway,
yeah, probably. Or you'd be like Ubisoft and just boot it up from Steam and force you to go to Uplay and then boot up the game from Uplay and then you get to play the game.
Which is really consumer friendly.
Good thing I have so much RAM.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm just starting to realize how prevalent that's becoming. We got Uplay, Origin, Galaxy's coming around now. We got Steam, obviously, Battle.net.
Yeah,
there's a lot of them. At least
and we set it up so it has to daisy chain through every one of them somehow. Open all 5 platforms or whatever they are.
I've got most of these in my taskbar. I've got Battle.net, Steam, I've got the Galaxy tab now. I had Uplay, but I took that away because I stopped ever playing things on it.
I still have Desura. Loads up on startup.
Rockstar.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Rockstar has their own now.
Social Club.
Oh, yeah. Man, that's too
Whole
many.
nother conversation.
Conversation.
Oh, man, but yeah, that's that whole debacle. Witcher 3 comes out on Tuesday.
Can't wait.
It's gonna be a fucking fantastic game, let's be
I
honest.
wanna
It's
play
gonna
it.
be really great.
Can't wait.
All right, so World of Warcraft has lost 3 million subscribers this quarter, which they claim is to be expected, and I totally believe is to be expected. After they release a big expansion pack or new content or something like that, they get a big insurgence followed by a big decline, which is
the biggest expansion pack they've released since Wrath of the Lich King, I think.
You were going to say Lamb.
Yeah,
I know you were going to say it.
It was in my mind.
So the current subscriber count is sitting around 7.1 million. Last year at this same time, it was around 7.6. They've been peaking at just over 10 million subscribers ever since, I think it was about like Wrath of the Lich King. They've gotten around that territory, so they're hovering. Well, obviously, yeah, they were getting up there. Obviously, they have 7 million subscribers. Still, World of Warcraft prints money for Blizzard. That much is obvious still, but now it's this is a noticeable decline because of the the rapid flow of subscribers out of the game after the release of the new batch of content.
Well, yeah.
So here's the presentation of the two topics. A, is World of Warcraft going to be sticking around for much longer? And B, what does the scope of MMOs just look like in general these days?
I feel like MMOs still have a place. An article came out today, I believe, where it was noted that Square Enix doubled their profits from last year, and most of that was because of Final Fantasy XIV, still a subscription-based MMO that is doing phenomenally well for themselves and doing really, really well. It's not as big as it used to be because a lot of the people who grew up with MMOs now have jobs, and the people that have the time to play MMOs are in a different gaming environment than we were 10 years ago. There's a lot more quick things to play. Dota, League of Legends, Heroes of the Storm. That's kind of taken the place of what MMOs used to be. As far as WoW and why they're losing it, I feel like a lot of it is because the new expansion took away. I don't know if any of you play WoW at all at any point in time.
I played it a lot. I was actually so obsessed that I had to quit it.
Whoa.
Welcome to, I was with you. I'm with you. Did you play the new expansion at all?
The last one I got to is Cataclysm, and I stopped after that.
And how about you guys, Ryan?
Not at all, no.
I played, got the trial and took my character to level 15, and then I got bored.
So not really. Gotcha. So the problem with... Everybody was really stoked for this new expansion pack because it undid a lot of what Mists of Pandaria kind of broke and why people ran from Mists of Pandaria. Mists of Pandaria introduced more daily quests than any other expansion has ever introduced. It was all about just logging on, doing the daily, grind. And this expansion kind of got rid of that. It presented more story. There were more cutscenes. The quests were more fluid. There wasn't really questing hubs. You kind of just went from zone to zone, and stories kind of unfolded, and it was a lot more natural progression. And you got your own base that you got to build and decide what buildings you wanted depending on your profession, and it was very, very cool. The problem is, once you kind of upgraded your garrison, which was your base that you built, it quickly became apparent that the daily quests were replaced with kind of Facebook daily stuff that you did in your garrison instead. So every day you would go into your garrison and you would send off your NPCs to go do that. And the NPCs would take time and you would watch the timer go down until they came back and succeeded and brought you a reward. So instead of going out... Yes. So instead of going out and doing these daily quests, you would just log on, stay in your garrison alone because nobody else was involved unless you had them in your party, and you just go building to building, clicking on the NPCs, sending them off to do their tasks, coming back the next day, gathering the rewards, and then sending them off again, completely removing the big hub cities that they would have in every expansion where you would see other players and interact and go do things, and instead making it a very solo, kind of lonely experience where you just went and clicked on things, and if you were in a guild, maybe you would raid once a week or whatever it was. And it was a very different feel, and I think people were very excited for that because you got to have this customization, and it was a lot more story-focused. But once you got through all of that, what you were left with was mobile Facebook cow-clicking games to get your rewards for the day. And people started really hating that.
That makes me really sad. I was getting excited when you were talking about the garrison stuff. I was like, oh, that actually sounds pretty neat. And
it was really cool. Building it and unlocking new building plots and then deciding what building we want to build there and watching the building kind of land down in a very World of Warcraft animated way. Really, really fulfilling and really fun. But once you were past that and you kind of hit and did everything you were supposed to, what you're left with is non-social, just kind of log in every day for 20 minutes, click on things, then log out.
There's got to be like instances of enemies trying to take out your garrison and stuff like that, right? No?
No.
That's so obvious, isn't it? That's just like
but
the natural thing
the thing
you
is,
do.
you take over the land and make it safe to build the garrison. That's
Oh my god, man. Let them, like, fight over garrisons.
Yeah,
all
that would
the
be really
time.
cool.
When you log out, your garrison's safe, but if you're in the world, you gotta always be protecting that shit.
Wouldn't that be awesome? Like PvP, like flag your garrison for PvP.
Yeah,
But
man.
everybody's
Oh, my
garrison is
God.
in the same exact place. It's just phased.
It's phased. That's what I was gonna say.
come
When they
on,
started the
no.
phasing is when it all went to shit.
Yeah.
I hated phasing.
So like you and your friends are running to your garrison, and as you're getting close, all your friends phase out because they're all going to their garrison, but it's
Oh
all in
my
the same
God.
spot.
split up the world. The whole point was so you could play a game together, and then you split them back up again and fragmented it.
Yep, it became more lonely in this expansion, which is a shame because I think I talked to you, Bear, when the expansion came out initially, how much I was playing it. I was loving it. I was having a really good time with it. And then, like I said, over time you realize how lonely of an experience it becomes.
I only hit the wall of go get this many of this thing for this reason. That was what all the quests boiled down to, and that was the point at which I was like, I don't really want to do this anymore. But yeah, like that just right away, I'm thinking of how cool that could be.
Yep.
But it's not.
Unfortunately.
That's
but
really sad.
Final Fantasy XIV has introduced their own base system, and it's supposedly really good.
Oh. So, I mean, the general discussion involves a couple of things that have, or a few games that really have kind of tried to provide the resurgence of the MMO experience in different ways, notably so in these different games. So, like Mathas was saying, there's Final Fantasy XIV, which is, well, when we look back at it, at Final Fantasy XI, and how awful that was. You liked Final Fantasy XI?
I played a lot of 11.
Well,
man.
11 was pre-WoW. 11 was before WoW had set what the standard would be.
I'll grant you, though, that it wasn't very good, but I liked it anyway.
Yeah. Fair enough. But now they've got Final Fantasy XIV, which is obviously, kind of skyrocketing in popularity a little bit. We've got the Elder Scrolls Online, which kind of just failed. It was, it failed,
really
I think, because
drab.
it tried to do a lot of the classic MMO stuff, which is sort of where I'm basing the argument of that doesn't really work anymore in, like modern tastes of what people want out of games. And then there's things like Destiny, which are, maybe the definition of classic MMO is being stretched a bit when you consider Destiny in that tier, but it is very much, vying for the top spot now for MMOs in general. Like it had a huge release. The viewership on Destiny's announcement of the new content coming out, I don't actually know the name of it off the top of my head, but there were
House of Wolves, I think.
something like that. Yeah, that
Yeah,
sounds about
something
right.
like that.
But there were 180,000 people watching that reveal on Twitch, which
Wow.
is a huge number. So, tons of interest still in that game. But yeah, it's kind of a landscape that's shifting a lot. And I don't know if MOBAs have a lot of relevance there. I was thinking about that when you brought that up as like maybe the alternative that
I think
people
they
are
do,
playing
to
now.
be honest with you. I think
The
they have a
relevance
whole
is-
lot of relevance.
They're cleaning up after all the people that are leaving WoW with their $10 skins on Heroes of the Storm.
As someone who hasn't really spent that much time playing MMOs, please correct this if this is incorrect. But my perception of the MMO landscape is that it's a bunch of this is going to sound offensive, but like a bunch of junkies that are kind of like looking to get back to that first high.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
there been an MMO that people have considered great since 2004 that has also been successful?
Not
probably-
They're all gone now.
Yeah, I mean, I will completely admit that for the longest time after leaving WoW, I kept chasing the high, as you described it, by going to new MMOs and looking for the next big thing that was going to get me hooked in the world, and I was going to spend days playing the game. Never found it because it's impossible.
Not even Lotro? I'm just kidding.
I know. I played Lotro. I played Matrix Online. I've played, you name the MMO, and I've played
a little bit of
Conan.
WildStar in there.
WildStar. I definitely played Conan. I played Terra. I played
some Rift.
Rift. I tried to really like Rift.
Star Trek Online.
Star Trek Online. I played Star Wars KOTOR. You know, I played that too. I played them all.
Did you play any Eve Online, Mathas?
I played Eve Online.
Yeah,
I've tried playing Eve Online
wow.
multiple times. I've tried playing Eve Online.
I thought we were gonna break him.
Yeah, shit, he's got it.
You name it, I've
Secret
played it.
World?
Secret World, I tried.
No. Really?
I like it. Yeah, I played it. The thing with Secret World is combat, at least at the time, was messy as fuck.
Damn.
I've played so many MMOs in my lifetime. It was my shit back in the day. But the reason I use MOBAs and like why I think they're the thing that's kind of taking the place of MMOs is because those who grew up with MMOs, who really like them, don't necessarily have the time to invest in them anymore. And MOBAs don't take a lot of time to play a game or two. You can play a round of Dota in 45 minutes to an hour at most. You can play Heroes of the Storm for 20 minutes to 30 minutes because they're super quick. You get that, the rush of victory, the rewards afterwards of getting like experience points or gold or whatever you can spend, and you get that feeling of teamwork of playing with friends in a much smaller time frame, and you're not paying a monthly fee. You don't feel. That was another thing that I really hated with MMOs later on in my life, is I felt like I was playing it because I was paying for it. And I was like, I'm paying $15 a month. I might as well log on and play. It became a chore. And once I cut that and I started looking into MOBAs, I was like, I can play this. I can get the same, successful feeling from one game in a half hour, 45 minutes that I would get from doing a raid for 4 fucking hours and not get anything from it. And I think in a world where kids are growing up with League of Legends and Dota and stuff, that's what people are playing more of. And I'm not saying MMOs are going to disappear, but you can see there's different design decisions when it comes to them now.
They're structured like micro MMOs. I mean, the whole premise is that you level up really quickly with your team, and then it's over, and you start again.
Yep, you level up, you're getting, you're getting that leveling up feeling and unlocking new abilities and getting more powerful all in 45 minutes.
Consciously designed that way.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
It just seems to me like, and again, this is from an outsider's perspective, but every MMO that comes out, first couple of days, people are like, hey, this is pretty cool, like, I'm having a good time with it, and then gradually over the course of like a couple weeks, people just stop talking about it, and then 6 months, people are like, nah, man, no, this is a premium product. This isn't going free to play, man. It's I know every other MMO that's come out in the past 8 years has gone free to play. Not this one, though. This one's, and then it goes free to play like 6 months later, and then, maybe the community picks up after that. I don't know. But I feel like it's WoW's coming from like this, if that's your point of reference, is this huge cultural phenomenon. It still has 7 million subscribers, 7.3 apparently, like Bear said. Hearthstone just crossed 10 million players. So Hearthstone is like hugely at the forefront of public consciousness within the industry. WoW is still like 73% of that, and it's 11 years old.
I'd be curious to see once Heroes of the Storm comes out, what kind of player base they're going to garner.
Never doubt Blizzard, I think is the axiom I'm sticking to.
And I'm guilty of that too, like what you said, Ryan, of playing an MMO for a couple of days, but like, no, this is great. It's it's a premium product that does this, and this differently. And then a week or two in, I'm like, WoW does this better. WoW does this better. WoW does this better. WoW. I'm like, so I just keep comparing it to World of Warcraft to go, why don't I just go play WoW? And then I cut the subscription. And either I'll go back to WoW for a week and then be like, I'm bored, or I'll just not play anything ever again. WildStar was the biggest example of that. I was like, this is great. This is great. Oh man, it's like Burning Crusade World of Warcraft. I miss those days. And then I'm like, WoW does this better. WoW does this better. Oh, it's just like WoW in this aspect, but WoW's had 11 years to perfect this particular formula. And then I walk away from the MMO.
It took me like 3 games to realize that was going to be the result every time I tried a new one, so I just don't even bother at all now.
I didn't. I kept trying.
I kind of feel like MMOs, as we've known them in the past, as this huge force in the industry, are kind of dead, with the exception of WoW. The perception right now being that it's waning a little bit. Yeah. But, like, you remember, like, that was the game everybody wanted to make. We made fun of it, like, a couple of years ago. like everybody was making a MOBA. Now that people knew about Dota and League of Legends, like we're gonna make a a zombie MOBA, the Dead Island MOBA. That's what I mean. We're gonna make a DC MOBA. We're gonna make a Lord of the Rings MOBA. Like that's what it felt like from like 2005 to 2011. Was like we're gonna make this game as a MOBA because it prints money, man. How could you fail? And then they all failed. And some of them took like 5 years to develop. And I think now, you know, after Defiance and the Elder Scrolls Online and the Old Republic and Terra and Rift, et cetera, I hope that most studios are going, most publishers, I guess, are going, we're not going to finance like another MMO because it seems like I can't imagine a worse business decision of like a game that costs an extraordinary amount of resources to make and then has historically not returned with
and
like
not only that, but it costs a lot all the time. Like it continues to cost a lot of money after you've made it. There's not a lot of games that do that.
I feel like the only MMOs that are succeeding nowadays are the ones that are doing something drastically different. The reason you got EVE Online is so successful is because it's hard to call EVE Online it's an MMO, sure, but it's more like a sandbox game because what I love about EVE Online, why if I had time I'd probably be completely into that game, is the developers are 100% hands off. They created the world and they said go. And the players create the rules, the laws. They're like sections of space that are completely controlled by this group of players and another group of players trying to take over in these huge wars. And that's what you read about all the time, are these huge like 2 or 3 day wars of players just trying to destroy another group of players to take over this section of space because there's something there. And like Destiny is a totally different game because it's a first-person shooter. It's not really like this open world-ish type of game. Isn't it more Destiny, more zone control?
Yeah, it's small areas and then there's a hub world. It's kind of like the Nexus in Demon Souls or something, and you just go off to an area and then mess around.
Final Fantasy XIV is the closest thing to WoW that's very successful, but it does enough different in my opinion, and that's why it's doing really well. But any other MMO that comes out that is trying to be WoW, and you've already listed a ton of them, flop, because you will always look at it and compare it to World of Warcraft and go, WoW does it better.
Well, the publishers all thought, like, hey, even if we just do the same shit as WoW, if we bring our IP to this, we'll be successful because we know our IP is amazing. So it's like Star Wars tried it, fucking Lord of the Rings tried it, go on down the list. They found out eventually, even Elder Scrolls, like, we can't just make this based on our name alone.
Yep. How crazy is that? That, like, Final Fantasy made it work. All it took was, 30 years of goodwill and fairly consistent positive releases, one of the most beloved franchises of all time. Yep. And then, like, releasing it, having people hate it, put it back in development for 3 years, and then come out with it again, coinciding with the release of a major new console.
The Final Fantasy XIV before and the one out now are they're totally different games. From the ground up, totally different.
Regarding EVE Online, too, it's my favorite old adage of... EVE Online is the most interesting game that I never want to play.
Yeah. It's
Dwarf Fortress for me.
Yeah.
It just becomes just like a series of Excel spreadsheets at some point. And like, you see all these epic battles. That's the highlight reel. But really, like, there was 14 hours of planning and economic distribution that went into that fight.
Specialists working all night just to figure out.
I remember talking to the developers when I was in Iceland. One of the cool things Paradox did for me and the guy I was stuck there with was set up an office tour of CCP and to see their, like, talk to the developers and hang out with them. And that was the thing we discussed is, like, 90% of EVE is the planning, is the resource gathering, is the building of the empire. The exciting 10% that the world sees is the wars and stuff. And, like, 90% is that boring shit that people do, but it makes that 10% so much more thrilling and adrenaline rush because you could lose everything.
You invested so much into that moment, and then it all just goes up in a blazing ball of fury.
Those Titan ships that you see, those big ones, take real life like 1 or 2 months to build.
Yeah, they're worth a tremendous amount of money too, aren't they? Just like not even the in-game currency.
So if you see like a company, or they're called corporations, guild, bring out a Titan, that's when you know shit is real. Like that is a lot to risk right there. But a Titan can take on hundreds of little ships without any problem.
So they need to like sign a charter to get the corporation to release the Titan to go into the battle. So there's people actually allowing these actions to take place.
Man, every fucking time I hear about this shit, I'm like, I want to play this game. This sounds awesome. And then I load it up and I'm like,
this isn't for me at all.
And like when those wars happen, the fact that CCP has devs at their computers 24/7 to monitor the servers to make sure the servers don't crash, so that they can handle the thousands of players that are in this one section of space. They have something called time dilation where they slow everything down for the battle and everything. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. There's some people that are just, like, that's their whole life is EVE.
They can make real-life money off of it.
Yeah, it's almost their
all
job.
that shit was going down, and then the server just broke. Like, how mad would they be? Like, that was 5 months of my life.
We get worried about Twitch going down, man. They're losing $5,000 a minute every second that server's offline.
I thought there was some story that, like, EVE represents, like, 2% of Iceland's total GDP or something like that.
They are, I was being told by them that, like, and if you ever go out with drinks with any of the CCP guys and they know that it's CCP, you'll just get free drinks the whole night.
Wow.
Their building is gorgeous. It's huge. It's like 6 or 7 stories, and it's all, like, just for CCP. It's amazing. It's really cool.
That is awesome.
They're the pride of Iceland, man.
God damn it, I gotta play EVE. I want to try.
I got past the really rough part, and I was getting really into it, but then I was not doing any work, so then I had to stop.
People, please tweet at me and tell me not to play EVE.
Well, you'll get bored of it real quick because it's just hard. Yeah, exactly.
That's also true. Yeah.
0.5%.
Still, though, that is...
It's huge!
That is massive. For an entire country.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. But anyway, World of Warcraft is very much still going to be a strong player, we think, for a long ways to come. Let us know what you think. Subreddit is also a roundtablepodcast.reddit.com. Feel free to start up a thread over there. We'll always be hanging around there discussing stuff, so...
Age of Conan, though, probably coming back real soon.
Yeah?
They had it on the Big Bang Theory, man.
It's a WoW killer.
Yeah, I was so excited for Age of Conan.
Oh, me too, man.
I played through it, I'm like, I'm the chosen one. And then you're done with the tutorial, and like, oh, there's like 7,000 other chosen ones near me, all with the handprint on their chest.
That's when you gotta kill all the other chosen ones, make yourself.
There can only be one.
Yep. All right, getting into our games for this episode, we want to talk about Action Henk. Henk. I can't not say Henk because they're pronounced the same way.
Your jaw tenses up when you do that.
We don't have like a letter that, like a sound in the English language that makes the name make sense.
Yeah, like if they call them like Action Hink or something.
Yeah, or Action Hunk, easy.
Ooh,
there
much
you go.
better.
Action
and that would be like ironic because he's got a big old beer gut.
Was there something unattractive about that?
Absolutely not. Action Henk was released on May 11th. To the tune of very positive reviews on Steam. Currently $13.49 on sale. Regular price $15. I am really enjoying Action Henk, actually. Much more than I expected I would when I booted it up. It is sort of a Trials-like game. So if you guys have ever played Trials Evolution or Fusion or something like that, think of that, but you're controlling a big fat dude. He's running around.
Bit Trip Runner is also an apt comparison, I would say.
Yep.
There's a little bit trip. I also think that it mines a lot from Trackmania. In that, unlike Trials, there's like no levels that are nearly impossible to beat. But it's all about just iterating on them and beating them as quickly as you can, shaving off like 1/10 of a second over and over. And the multiplayer is exactly the same as Trackmania.
Which I like. I like the way the multiplayer works. I think it's much better than just like pitting 4 people against each other in the same track and seeing who can get through the fastest. Because the tracks usually only take like 30 to 45 seconds to complete.
At most, yeah.
But yeah, like that's the higher end of it. Some of them are as low as like 20 seconds. I also had to make sure I was 0.2 seconds ahead of Ryan on the overall leaderboards of the game before we started the show.
Leaderboards do it, man.
I recorded when I was ahead of you. That's the only thing that matters. It's
that's bullshit. Now. I'm going to have to... I have video evidence. I've got images. One day. We'll complete all the levels, and then we'll see who's on top. But anyway. So it's got like these action figures from the 90s that you play as. That's kind of the appeal to it. I really like the way that the levels look and feel, too. So you're going through it, and you're sort of racing on almost, like, race car track plastic
blocks
slides
and
and
wooden
stuff.
and
Yeah,
toys,
just like
all mixed together.
all the old classic toys that kids would play with in the 90s. And the rooms look so cool too. It's just like it's got all those different vibes to them. Like some of our, disco party rooms, and then some of them are classic with the toy box in one corner and there's a little tube TV in the other. But it works really well with the aesthetic because it allows you to kind of see the rest of the level going around in a loop. It's on a 2D plane, but you can see sort of like
on a cylinder, kind of turns around.
Yeah. In the future, like you can tell what's going to be happening later on down the stage. But well, I think the biggest appeal to me is that it does control really well. I think it's very fluid. It's very responsive. You can. It's tricky to learn a lot of the quote-unquote advanced tactics of the game, but that was like the laziest quote-unquote I've ever done.
Hit both fingers individually, kind of there.
It was like quote-unquote. But it's I've been having a really good time with it, and I think it does everything it wants to do quite well.
Yeah, I've been having fun with it. I remember looking at it way back when the early build, or was it early access that it came out on? And saying I really think it's going to be fun because it was already pretty replayable at that point in time. I get frustrated with those games though because unless I'm perfecting the stage, I'm not going to stop playing that stage. So I don't make a lot of progress very quickly. It's fun.
Yet you are behind us in every single stage you've played thus far.
Even me too. Actually, I just played some this morning and I beat you too.
Nick didn't even try to kick your ass.
I beat you motherfuckers today. I would go back.
Yes?
I took first place off you guys.
All right.
Some of the grappling hook levels.
Friendly rivalry is always good.
Yeah, but it's fun. I like it. It's like you said, Bear. It's responsive. It's fluid. The imagination is really cool. Like being able to jump over big pits and see the floor becoming lava, which gives you the imagination that you're a kid playing with his toys. It's really fun.
Mm-hmm.
There's not much to say.
Yeah, it's
a level editor, level hub.
Yeah.
I will never use a level editor.
I will.
This is one of the games that may kind of. I'm probably not going to use it either, I'll be honest, but I'm thinking about it, which is higher up in the tier list than a lot of the other ones I've played.
Yeah.
I think it's really good. Like you guys said, I really like that the levels are short, so, part of the, not problem, but part of the frustration in a Trials game is when you get to those tracks that are like 2 minutes long, and if you make one mistake, you have to go back to the start.
Yes.
And then 20 tries might take you a half hour. Action Hank is a little faster than that, which is nice. It's not as frustrating. I like that it doesn't have any super puzzly levels. Like, there's very few times where you're like, I can't beat this level. It's usually like, I can't figure out how to get up to that high track, which means I can't set a great time.
Yeah.
But you're never actually like inhibited in your progress. Yep. That being said, I think I'll be a dissenting opinion and say that I don't think the game looks particularly good. Like, for me, at least like the art design and stuff like that and the references to action figures and that kind of culture from the 80s and 90s I think is really cool and inspired, but I think it kind of looks like a PS2 game. That's probably not fair.
I wouldn't go that far, but I can see where you're.
It looks like
from.
a Unity game, but I think that's why I think it looks good because I think plastic action figures fit that really plasticky look that a lot of Unity games have.
You think they did that on purpose? They were trying to make something like really high def, and they ended up with these blocky characters. Like, fuck it, let's just go with the '90s action figure style.
The only dissonance that I feel is going with the fact that we're dealing with action figures and toys, but yet the movement feels super fluid and organic, where, looking at that character, you would think, hey, this will probably feel stiff, and it doesn't. So I'm glad that it doesn't feel stiff, and in fact, I love the controls. They feel fantastic, but maybe it does feel a little bit off given what you're looking at. You think that's anything?
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, it's not like that dissonance. I just think that the textures don't look that good, which is normally something that I don't get that bunged up about. But I was playing at 1920 by 1080, and I was like, it looks a little blown out. Like, it doesn't look bad necessarily, and it is charming with its direction, but I don't know. I don't think it looks...
It didn't register for me.
What I'm comparing it to is Trackmania and Trials, because I think those are the closest analogs, or Bit Trip Runner, and I think all those games have like a particular style, and in particular the scope also is larger, except in Bit Trip. But Bit Trip's got its own kind of minimalistic, stylish thing going on, which is cool. But like both Trials and Trackmania have this kind of sprawling focus or scope on each level. Like Trials Fusion, there's all sorts of shit going on in the background, whether you like Trials Fusion or not. The levels are actually really impressive in the way that they look. And Action Hank is kind of like a cut below, I think, there.
There's stuff in the backgrounds too, actually. In this.
There is, but it's less impressive, and like it's kind of just like, oh, there's a reference to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. There's the sticker with the Unity logo and stuff like that. Like there's cool references and stuff like that. But Trials has like some crazy shit happening in the background. You know,
like an alien invasion going on just sitting behind you.
And the other thing is, I think, and I still really like Action Hank, but if you're comparing it to Trials, I think the physics feel floaty, and like I never really have a sense for how much my character weighs. Like when I play Trials, like I can feel the bike. In this, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I don't really feel like
what you mean.
A dude. It feels like it's very hard to describe, but it's not as satisfying. It's not as weighty as something like, you know, like the bike in Trials, but it's still a good game.
With what Nick said too, it's interesting that you're playing with a character like Hank who has a big old belly, and I find it's actually like I tried to switch characters a couple of times, and I can't do nearly as well with the skinnier characters as I can with Hank, which is so bizarre that like I've associated this level of mobility with the fattest character in the game. It's like playing as Rufus in Street Fighter. It was like, he shouldn't be doing this. This man does not belong in these positions, but I suppose I'll learn to live with it.
It's a great quote. This man does not belong.
Yeah, take that out of context a few times.
The way the ghost system works is really motivating as well. Oh, yeah. Like, the only complaint I have about the ghost system, I'll explain it very quickly. Basically, on each level, there's thresholds to get a certain caliber of metal: bronze, silver, gold, and rainbow, which is like super tough. But you get a ghost that sets like the baseline time, and if you beat that ghost, you get the medal, basically. So you can see the mistakes that you make relative to what they're doing. You can also race against all your friends' ghosts, and they download in like less than a second. So it's super easy to see like, oh, that's where he's gaining like a half second on me here, and do that. And that's a really like good motivating factor. I just wish they showed them like right at the start, because when you're like super close together, sometimes someone will just get in front of me, but I won't have seen what they've done, and I'm like,
yeah.
How are you doing that?
You have to hold back for like half a second at the beginning so you can stay right behind them to see
that
what
makes
it is
sense,
that they're
actually.
doing.
That's to learn, yeah.
Yeah. But they also have the leaderboards that allow you to download the replays of anyone on the leaderboard. So you can watch the number one guy, who is this guy named Quartzy, for pretty much every level. They even have a little message built into the loading screens on the game that says his Quartzy's still in first place. And
I saw that, actually.
Yes, he is. But yeah, it's cool. They've got a lot of really good leaderboard functionality and all that stuff. They everything that you could expect out of a game like this, they do, and they do well. So with that to its
very
credit,
polished.
It's pretty. Yeah. I think Early Access did them well for this one too. I think they learned a lot from the Early Access release of the game, and they put out very polished products. So yeah. We all, Ryan hates it, but we all think it's great.
I like it a lot.
Good job,
I like
Ryan.
it a lot, but I will say that it's weird because my baseline for this is exclusively like games that are the same price, published with a huge amount of resources behind them.
Right, yeah.
Like, if your baseline is Trials, I wouldn't say you'd be disappointed, but there are some things where I'm like, Trials does this a little bit better. Trials is a little bit more, refined in this area. It's still really good, but if you're coming from that baseline, and that's not a reason not to get it if you're interested. In fact, if you like the Trials games, I would recommend this more, because it's something like, it's a style of gameplay that you're going to be, automatically kind of able to understand it and enjoy. But I don't think it necessarily beats the Trials games. That's just my piece on that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Except maybe Trials Fusion.
Oh, come on. I love Trials Fusion.
It's the worst. Well,
it's not the worst one.
It's worse than Evolution.
Maybe. I want to fight you on that, but okay. $15 released, available now, out of Early Access. Action Hank. We'll have a link down below. At least I will. I'll give them to him too, so yeah, we'll have it. Next on the agenda today is Invisible Ink. It's the new one by Clay. This one was in Early Access as well.
Like a year and a half,
Yeah, so it's been around for a little while. Finally out, the full release, now available on Steam, currently 10% off. Normal price $20. It's now $18. Came out on May 12th out of Early Access. It's got the Clay art style, for sure. Well, maybe a little bit different, actually, for this one. I think they... Well, they didn't break out of their shell, but it's, it's a bit more humanized, I think, that for this iteration.
It's stylized 2D art. It doesn't look like a Tim Burton movie like Don't Starve does. It doesn't really look like Mark and the Ninja, but it does. It's definitely, clay.
You can look at that and you can think clay. That
It doesn't look like shank, but it looks shank-ish.
It's a shank-like.
Shank-like.
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear what you guys think about it, because the last time I haven't really played the full release, but I did play it back when I got an early access code a while ago. I did a video on it, and I was very mediocre on it at the time. I didn't like a lot of the mechanics they had playing, and I remember getting into a discussion with one of the developers on Twitter about what I didn't like, why I didn't like it, why he was defending certain points, but we didn't argue. It was just like it was a very civil discussion, and I'm excited to go back to see if they've changed a lot of that, or if I would still be like, it's okay.
You should also talk about what it is, first of all.
When did you play it, also?
I'll look up the video right now. Well, you talk about what it is while I look up my video.
All right, Invisible Ink is it's a stealth-based, squad-based tactics game or strategy game. The easiest way to describe it in terms of stuff that already exists is that it's a little bit more of a stealth focus, well, a lot more of a stealth-focused XCOM. So every mission, instead of your objective being, we're going to kill all the enemies on the other side, usually your objective is like infiltrate a building, steal something, and then get out. So every level you find an objective, you hack it basically, and then you get to a teleporter that allows you to escape. So instead of engaging enemies, which you can do, usually your best course of action is to, engage in kind of subterfuge and stuff like that, like a little like Dishonored-y in a way. But it's isometric and 2D, like XCOM.
What is interesting to note, I think with anything beyond the easiest difficulty setting is kind of permadeath, isn't it, to a degree? Not really permadeath, but your actions are permanent.
It is permadeath to some extent. When a unit gets knocked out in combat, you can resurrect them, which is very difficult, because you only start with 2 agents at the start. You can get more throughout, depending on the missions that you choose. You could break like another agent out of prison in one of the mission types. Or you can actually just drag their body to the teleporter, and then they'll come back with you. But those are both very difficult to do. Sometimes it's just better to leave them behind. But I don't know if I would say that, like, it doesn't have branching paths, really. But it does have permadeath for the agents.
All right, when did you play it, Mathas?
8 months ago.
Okay.
Oh, okay, so that was actually very recently. So that was like when it came out in beta, which was around like August
and I remember
2014.
it's been a while, so I'm a little bit fuzzy on some of the mechanics, but I remember not liking the alarm system very much. I remember it being a little bit too punishing for some of the things I was doing. And I'm not sure, like, does the alarm system still there? Can you actually re-explain the alarm system, how it works now, and see if that's...
The alarm system is basically a central conceit of the game. So, like, that is not gone anywhere. Basically, the alarm system works on kind of like a radial gauge.
Level thing,
Yeah. And it starts at level 1, well, level 0, and then every turn that you do, the alarm ticks up by 1. And when it reaches the end, it goes up to the next level. So on alarm level 0, there's no punishment. On alarm level 1, it's kind of like, go faster because there's going to be punishment soon. Then 10 turns in, you get to alarm system 2, and like more enemy cameras activate.
That's what I hated about it. Yeah, I remember the alarm system went up with whether or not you made mistakes or not. It would just go up, right?
Yeah, because the way that they frame that, and it's something that they've done a really good job with the actual release versus the beta releases, finally they have like a narrative wrapping for why any of this stuff is going on, why you only have 72 hours to do what you need to do, et cetera, et cetera. Is that like they've encountered, or they detected that there's been like an anomaly in their system, and they're like getting more suspicious as time goes on.
Okay.
So yeah, that still exists, and that is an interesting part of the gameplay, because you have to balance like a secondary objective in like every mission is, do you want to hack all the stuff that you can to get like as much money as possible to outfit your agents after you leave the mission, or like you might get company secrets that give you more missions in the future. But the longer you spend doing your due diligence there, the more the alarms go up and the harder it's going to be for you to get out. So you have to balance this like, speed versus kind of like scope of the mission.
I remember that was, now that we're talking about it, I remember that was like kind of the crux of my complaint of the alarm system. Was it wasn't necessarily that I hated the alarm system. I didn't like that the alarm system happened if you were playing perfectly. I feel like a lot of the kind of the concept behind the game is being stealthy, is this, being secretive thing. And if I'm playing through a level very intelligently, not being seen or whatever, I felt like the alarm system shouldn't necessarily be going up. But if a guard saw me, instead of giving me a tick of an alarm, bump it up a level immediately. But don't punish me for playing strategically and slow-paced, I guess, quote-unquote, because it's a stealth game that's based around strategy. So if I'm playing quietly and not being seen, I felt like the game was, like, bad. You shouldn't be doing... Smack my mic. Bad. You shouldn't be doing...
Smacks you right in the microphone.
You shouldn't be playing slow and stealthy. You should be trying to make quick decisions and stuff. Maybe make the alarm system go up a tick if you decide to hack something. Maybe make that go up a bar. Instead of being every turn, you better hurry up, you're going too slow. That bothered me, and I remember that being
You're
a huge
too slow.
I don't want to fall back
Notice.
on the Apotheon thing, because with Apotheon we were like, it would be better if it had this kind of combat, and the developer was like, well, that would be a different kind of game. But I do find myself kind of wanting to be like, I think there's a case to be made that a game like that could be good. That, like, when you get seen, there's no continuous consequences, but when you make a mistake, there's a huge consequence.
Right.
Like, it goes up one level. I could see that. And I loaded up Steam here because I want to start Invisible Ink to see if maybe that's a custom option. Because there's like XCOM Enemy Unknown, there's a lot of custom campaigns, like modifiers and stuff you can turn on. So I'll check on that.
Yeah, that was the thing I was talking to the dev over Twitter a lot about. Now that you've jogged my memory, that was like my biggest gripe. And he was like, well, this is the reason we're doing it. And I was like, yeah, but here's why I don't think it's a good idea. And then, it wasn't an argument. It wasn't like the an argument problem.
In a way, I kind of feel like, and this, I don't mean this to sound dismissive to you, but I think it's kind of like an intellectual, like, immersion-breaking thing. Yeah, I think, like, as a game, the mechanics work really well from my perspective, at least. Mm-hmm. But I agree that it sort of doesn't make intuitive sense that if you don't do anything wrong, people notice you still. But they don't, I mean, you can still work around it and be, like, totally ghosty. And the conceit that they give for it is that you basically teleport into their building. So, like, they saw some kind of, like, energy anomaly. But it's all arbitrary either way.
Yeah, that's
like, they could say, like, they didn't detect an energy anomaly, or they could say, whatever. Okay, I'm going to see. I'm on here. Alarm when guards KO, alarm multiplier. So you can turn the multiplier on the alarm up. But I don't think you can actually change...
You can make your problem worse, Mathas, if that's what you're interested in.
Yes!
You can make the alarm easier. Oh, no, you know what? There is an auto-increment alarm. You could turn it off. Turning this off will still allow the alarm to increase, but it will only move when it is triggered by some event, such as a guard being killed or an agent being discovered by a camera.
Hey, there you go.
Pretty much exactly what you asked for, but you'd probably have to fuck with the other multipliers or modifiers.
I would want to be punished harder for fucking up, as opposed to be incrementally punished for not doing anything. It's like, you get seen by a guard, you knock a guard out, bam, immediate level up or whatever, as opposed to be like incremental. But I'm glad they actually put that in there. That's cool. That allows you to play how I want. That's probably how I will end up playing.
That allows you to play how Mathas wants, which is what we all want, surely.
Right, exactly.
I'm trying to think of other turn-based stealth games that we could compare this to. I'm drawing a blank in that genre.
I haven't played it, but is there something like Stealthy and Shadowrun? I always got the vibe from it that Shadowrun is...
it's got... I wouldn't even really
RPG.
put them in the same ballpark, honestly. Like, I think there are... I recall playing a couple of kind of stealthy parts of Shadowrun, but it wasn't, like this is a game based around stealthily moving around and not being spotted sort of deal. But Shadowrun definitely has a... What was that?
The old Syndicate, maybe?
Didn't play that.
Assassin's Creed Syndicate?
Yeah.
Right.
That's the old Syndicate.
Yeah, the old Syndicate. No, not the new one now.
It's the reboot now. What was Syndicate?
It was like an old corporate espionage game that got a pretty big following over the years, and eventually that's when they rebooted it into a gritty first-person shooter, of course.
Yeah, okay.
I think Syndicate has been listed as an inspiration for Invisible Ink, but I haven't played it myself, so...
That's where I saw the parallel.
Hey, this is something cool that I didn't know, actually. All Mark of the Ninja owners get a 20% discount on...
look at that. That's cool.
So I really like Invisible Ink, and I played probably I won't, come up with a guess. I'll just look here when my Steam library actually loads. But I played probably 5 or 6 hours of it in its beta version last August, and I really liked it then, but it was missing, the things that tied it together to make it a game that was good, basically. It was a sandbox for mechanics, which was cool. But now that those mechanics are kind of overlaid with the narrative and there's more of a progression system in the campaign, I really, really like it, and I'm intending on playing like the campaign multiple times through, because it is the thing it has over or different from something like XCOM Enemy Unknown is that the campaign is seriously only maybe 4 hours long, 5 hours long.
Right.
So in a way, it's almost like, you know, what Isaac does to a traditional RPG, that expedited kind of progression through it, and it cuts all the fat basically and is just all about that meat. It's kind of like that, and I beat it on beginner, and it was tense but relatively easy, and now I'm going back on experienced, which is like the intermediate level difficulty, and it's much harder, but it's a lot of fun. I would really recommend it, and it really does scratch that kind of like Splinter Cell niche, like Mathas was saying. It sucks that the game kind of rushes you. But in a way, I don't feel like in the gameplay that manifests itself as being like, I'm going to run out in front of this guard, or I'm just like going to run up and tase him instead of taking the time to sneak around. Usually what ends up happening is you make the decisions with trade-offs for, do I want to stay and hack all this stuff to get a ton of credits to make my next mission easier, or do I just want to get to the exit because if I stay too long, like the danger's going to come. Like it's going to mount too much.
Danger zone.
Exactly. So, I don't know. I really like it on default settings, but I agree with Mathis. It's cool that they have the ability to modify the gameplay like that. And it scratches that Splinter Cell itch when you, like, make a plan and you actually execute it without being seen and you get out. It's like, it's really satisfying. You're like, I outsmarted the enemies. I'm rambling here, but also I like that it's like Mark of the Ninja, where it's a stealth game, but none of the mechanics are obfuscated. It's really clear. Like when you look at a camera, you see on the tiles on the ground where the camera can see. So in something like XCOM, you're like, okay, I'm going to take, and I love XCOM, but you know, you're like, I'm going to take a unit and run it out into the open and hope that this alien over here won't be within their field of vision. Invisible Ink doesn't work like that. You really can look at it and make a plan and be like, okay, the camera will see here, but there's blind spots around it, so I can sneak like blind spot to blind spot and get around. And then this guard takes a patrol pattern through here, so when he walks by, I'll move to this blind spot, and then I can actually sneak out without him knowing that I'm there. It's cool. It's like Mark of the Ninja in that it's very easy to see how elements will interact with one another, and then make a plan that works on that.
I'm pretty damn impressed just overall. I just started thinking about this. Clay's track record, they've got a pretty eclectic range of games that they put out now. They've got Mark of the Ninja, the 2D side-scrolling ninja stealth action game. They've got Shank, which is obviously crazy in and of itself. They've got Don't Starve, which is totally different from either of those two. And then they've now got Invisible Ink, which, as I just mentioned, is a genre that I don't think is really occupied by many other games at all. And they're doing really well with all of them. So that's quite impressive for just a single developer. But Invisible Ink is... I like it as well. I haven't played nearly as much, but I'm looking forward actually to playing a lot more. I think it's going to be a really good time.
What's also cool about Invisible Ink is that you have your choice of missions at all times, and there's like 4 or 5 different kinds of missions based on the companies that you're kind of like stealing from. So there's like a security company and like an administrative company and then like a prison company. And when you go to a mission that is overseen by the security company, like the enemies are different. They're going to be like heavily armored units. And then there's a like biotechnology company. When you go there, there's going to be like augmented units. So like the soldiers might have built-in heart rate monitors or something. So if you knock them out, then it raises the alarm level. And then the cybernetics company is more likely to have like robotic drones. The drones are like, you can't knock them out, at least not with the weapons you start with, but you can actually hack them and then use the drones to like scout throughout the level. And they might be outfitted with like an assault rifle you can actually use to murder the other guards on the level. So it's got kind of like a Deus Ex, like original Deus Ex thing where you can kind of like hack into these security systems and use them against your enemies, which is really cool. And based on the company, you get different rewards. So some missions are like money focused, you get a lot of money. Some are like prison breakouts, and if you break someone out, they join your squad, so you'll have 3 people instead of 2. Some of them are like, for like the biotechnology company, you might find like a special augment that you can install on one of your agents that maybe allows them to move like twice as much or something like that. So it's really like in the campaign, part of the strategy is mission selection. It's not just like doing the mission, but selecting properly for like what you need, as opposed to just like, this, I have to do an alien abduction right now. I have to do, a UFO crash mission right now. And this is not to say that it's better than XCOM Enemy Unknown, which is a fantastic game, but rather just different, meaningful design decisions. So you're not what was like Trials versus Action Hank. To some extent, I'm like, I like this, but it's a slightly worse Trials. Invisible Ink is different enough from XCOM that I don't really get that feling when I'm playing
that's not fair. Trials is a game about a motorcycle. Action Hank is a platformer with a dude. You can't compare that like that.
It's not the same.
It's about weight shifting on Trials. You don't do any weight shifting. It's about sliding on your butt.
Look, I understand that those seem like relatively minor divergences.
They're big
but for a strategy game like this that you might invest a lot of time in, and it's my personal opinion on it. When I play Action Hank, I don't think it's a worse Trials, but
I do. That's all I thought.
And it's still good. Action Hank is still good. Mm-hmm. And so is Invisible Ink.
So is clearly, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think you really like that one, huh?
I like it a lot. I think it's one of those games like Titan Souls where I'm like, this is a game that is not only fun but like really well designed, and it's easy to see like the design in the game.
Right.
Word. Invisible Ink, $20, available on Steam today. Right now, you can buy it with money.
Yay!
Hooray! Speaking of money,
you trade them.
You can give us some money. Patreon.com/roundtable. We're going to thank those supporters in a minute because I haven't forgotten. Before we do that, it's time for Nick's Weird Games.
Oh, I did think you forgot, actually.
Brought to you by the sultry sounds of the Wombo Combo video.
Happy
feed. Happy feed. Wombo Combo.
There you go.
Nick's Weird Games theme song. I'd like to...
Garfunkel and Oates?
Oh, yeah, we can go for that.
The fuck is Garfunkel and Oates?
Simon and Garfunkel, maybe?
Simon and Garfunkel and Oates?
Wait, what is Garfunkel and Oates?
I don't know.
Actually?
I don't know why I said that, to be honest with you.
I don't know. I went with it, but then it clicked. Wait, no, that's... Yeah, Simon and Garfunkel, let's hear it.
I'm gonna YouTubers.
Go it because I just had my wisdom teeth taken out. I don't want to...
Oh, man.
Disappointed.
I'm sorry.
Garfunkel and Oates is like a...
Can you maybe
brand of...
give us a substitute?
No. You can give us a substitute.
I don't know about... It's time for Nick's Weird Games. He's got some games to play. He brought them to his desk for us. A glorious day today.
I really like it, but it was like a lute player.
Creepy
That's
1930s
Simon and
radio.
Garfunkel kind
Brought
of
to you by Witcher 3. On
I got like a medieval bard vibe from that.
Yeah,
Okay,
me too.
I can
Not
live
there's
with
anything
that.
wrong with that. It was still impressive.
I have to give
Beautiful.
the people what they want if you're not going to give them to. Sure.
I appreciate it, honestly.
All right, what do you got?
Well, I'm curious if any of you guys have ever heard or seen this one. This is called Savage Skies.
No, I haven't.
This is a science-based dragon MMO.
What?
No.
with
It's,
realistic.
it's kind of like a dog-fighting game with dragons for the PS2.
Is that an M rating? I see
Panzer
on
Dragoon
That is an M
That's a
rating.
mature rating for
blood and
Savage
gore and
Skies.
violence.
by BAM.
Published by BAM
By
Entertainment.
BAM and Rock Interactive, or iRock? I can't
Yeah,
tell.
there? You would pick them.
Do you?
BAM Entertainment is a dormant video game publisher that published such titles as Carmen Sandiego, The Secret of the Stolen Drums.
Man,
They're
that's a
dormant,
good
so they're
lineup.
not extinct. They're just napping. They'll be back one day with Savage Skies 2.
All right,
So-
what's Savage Skies then?
The back says, do you have what it takes to control an 80-foot dragon without becoming lunch? The skies darken with shadows from the wings of fantastic creatures locked in midair, claw-to-claw combat.
Whoa!
And the valleys fill with the sounds of warfare and strife as mythical beasts clash in armed conflict. 3 factions compete for dominance in this strange land. The noble warriors of Vertwin. Yeah, the mutated hive mind of the Chrysalis and the undead armies of Pariah.
Fuck,
Each
dude, that's a
straight
lot
up
of threats.
and rule the kingdom. So there's 24 fantastical creatures from myth and legend. There's more than 60 weapons for riders and mounts alike, over 25 battle campaigns, and you can discover the secrets of Savage Skies to unlock secret missions, hidden creatures, powerful weapons, and all new gameplay modes. Does this not make you want to play it?
I kind of am interested.
I've got 2 things right off the bat. One,
Yeah.
If you're an 80-foot dragon, I don't think becoming lunch is a concern. 2, they've got like the hive mind
Hold
of the
up.
Chrysalis.
What do you mean with that
The
dragon lunch?
The trainer
mix?
becomes the lunch.
Oh, you're a trainer. You're not a dragon.
You ride the dragon like you always do. You thought
I thought
the
you were.
dragon.
I thought you were the dragon. Sorry,
No, that's Panzer Dragoon Orta.
Right.
Point,
No, you
right.
ride the dragon in Panzer Dragoon Orta as well, Bear.
Oh.
Also, you got Zerg in there, and you got undead and humans. So
Yeah.
we got like Warcraft and Starcraft just coming together for
Maybe
this
it's a little
crazy
off.
on the rail shooter.
That's not on rails. It's actually, you can kind of wander where you want. It's got big open sections of
Shit.
gameplay. There's like zeppelins, and there's like, I don't know, storming some gates, blowing shit up. It's got a really great heavy metal soundtrack, which I really hope you guys can hear. And also, one of the worst introductions that I've ever seen. I definitely
play-
recommend that you Google
It's called Savage Skies?
Yeah. On YouTube. Go find the intro, because it's hilarious.
At
And surprisingly,
an
no
earlier
Let's
stage-
Plays.
At an earlier stage in its development, Savage Skies had been set for release as Ozzy's Black Skies, complete with an endorsement from Black Sabbath frontman Ozzy Osbourne.
Nice.
In the original concept, each of the 3 games' playable factions would have been led by a different Ozzy character.
Oh, no.
The
We should have
game was
done
also
Kiss
to
versus Slash
feature
versus Ozzy.
music from Osbourne, including Crazy Train and Paranoid. However, in late 2001, the tie-in was dropped for reasons including its high financial cost and misconceptions about the game that made it difficult to secure a publisher. BAM Entertainment said, "Hold up. This Skies game is pretty sweet, but we don't want to associate with the Prince of Darkness, Ozzy Osbourne. If you want to publish under the BAM Entertainment label, publisher of such high-octane titles as Carmen Sandiego, The Search for the Stolen Drums, we've got to maintain a certain standard of purity and legitimacy."
Hey, they've got 4 Dexter's Lab games under the belt, I'll have you know. They've got a reputable lineup here.
I'm watching the opening to this game.
You got to hear the
Wow.
sound. The voices are so hilarious.
This is fucking
I guess I'm going to have to throw this on at the end of the podcast video here. You gotta give me another
some fucking.
task.
That's like
I
a
think-
pig dragon. What is happening?
What they wanted-
Oh, X versus Sever? The GBA release of 2001 published by BAM Entertainment?
Dude, that was a great movie.
Yeah.
Lucy
Just
Liu,
10 minutes?
Antonio Banderas.
Oh, there's the gameplay. 8 minutes in.
I think what they wanted was to position it as Twisted Metal with Dragons in the multiplayer, which I think is
this
actually
fucked
an
up,
okay
man.
idea.
They also made Reign of Fire the video game.
Oh, no.
Don't just recycle the same hardware from Savage Skies.
Oh man, this guy's riding like a giant bird. He's not even riding a dragon.
Yeah, there's a lot of different mythical creatures, like I said. I think 24, in fact, and unlockables.
And there's a
well-
lock-on mechanic. Even better.
At the risk of being content ID matched by BAM Entertainment in their dormant state, I don't think I'll throw the actual trailer in the video here of the podcast, but I'll give you guys a
Griffins.
link.
There's demons.
Give you guys the link down below.
This is wild. This is a wild game.
Who wouldn't want to play Savage Skies?
like
BAM
Savage Skies.
Entertainment published the A Sound of Thunder game based on the movie, based on like the Ray Bradbury
The GBA one,
short
right?
story. Yeah, they're like.
I played
almost
that. It's not bad.
GBA. Nick.
Yeah.
There's no Let's Play of this game. Somebody needs to get on this.
All right, I could be the one.
There you
Good,
go.
man.
The game's criticism focused on the password-based save system and
Nice.
praise on the single cart multiplayer.
The single card
Single
multiplayer.
cart on a disc. How did that-
Kotaku
I don't-
said, "Yo, I don't like this password-based save system, but the single cart multiplayer is pretty impressive."
Thanks, Kotaku.
Gave it a yes, conditionally. That is Nick's Word Games, and this is the Roundtable Podcast, episode 8?
I don't know, man. I don't.
After
either
like the
7 or
first
8.
5, yeah, you start to
Oh,
lose
I think
track.
it's episode 7.
Is it?
I think so.
Let's look at iTunes. You can
Episode
subscribe
4.
to us on iTunes. Also, give us a review and a rating. The reviews don't mean much, but the ratings certainly do help, so we appreciate any of those. Also,
7.
this is episode
No,
7?
this
All
is
right.
definitely 8, man. I got 7 here.
Oh, yeah, you're
Oh,
totally
shit.
lying.
I'm lying. I'm looking at the
Way
wrong.
to be a Dumbo. Big,
Dumbo
fat,
Mathas.
stupid dumbhead.
Wow,
Mathas.
you don't have to get personal.
Twitter.com/roundtablepc is where you can go to tweet at us. You can also go to roundtablepodcast.reddit.com for all the discussion about the episodes and all that. Patreon.com/roundtable. We want to thank the patrons for this episode at the $5 tier and above. Even if you can just give us $1 a month, that is incredibly generous and helpful, and we thank you very much for it. Patrons this episode include Max Pillin, Garrett Stewart, new member at the $75 tier, who I have to give some sultry tones of the Wombo combo video to upon his request. Christopher Flagg, Casey, EP Diablo, Sweetheart, Kevin Walker. That's cute. Alexander Spillman, Jonathan Graham, Jeff Rush, Robert David Bradley, Matt, Julian Avelsgaard, Hired Help, Caspian Crawdad, Kevin Birkland, Connor Littlewood, Rumble Muffin, Maximilian Messerschmidt, Sir Murphet, Logan Ray, Ignacio, A1 Base, David Teraoka, The Deacon, Mr. Scribe Monkey, Christopher Kuo, Will Van der Koy, Hunter DeLacy, Brandon Bennett, Rhiannon, OIC Mudkips, Simon Iriala, Demius, Gibonis, Christopher Farmer, Garju, Batman 9502, Kaj, Starcopper, Eroticals, Vandervet, first name I don't know, Grace Card, Peter R., Thomas Cashman, Michael Gilbert, Unix, Sebastian Iorga, John Morrison, Michael Gray, Justin Positron, Brizzlebrip, Saint City Riot, Scott Cullen, Musk of DP, Jesse Warburton, Chris Hauer, Jonathan Bloodworth, Hiro Alato, ZHXB. How would you say that phonetically?
It's actually a CD Projekt Red.
Yackers, Jonathan Collins, Levi Robertson, Pile of Bunnies, Solon Carter, Modest, Ponin, Dragon Slayer, Doppelganger. Still one of my favorite names to say. It just feels so good coming out of your mouth. J. Kyle Pittman, Fred Durst, Michael Schwader, Andreas Dimebacher, Doylam, Suicide Prinny, Zmod, Wolves at My Door, Tobias Dushpol, Eric Heinrichs, Dylan Kaj, Tobias Klaus, Salty Onion, Chris Ramakel, Grimbo, Andrew James Smith, Chris Bunch, Graham Alarton, Will Bailey, Duck Souls, a woohoo! He actually has that as part of his name. I had to say it. It's in parentheses. Kelpferter, Sam B, Christmas 95, Titan, Luke Chen, J.H., Paul, Nathan Wood, Rusty Hole, Chris Davies, Konstantinos Cherdonis, Jose Estrada, Benjamin Mickelson, Jordan Yarandi Poor, Sebastian Morin, Barcelo, Cooper Williams, Marvin Peach, The Awakok, Julian W., Lucas Sidling, Dudoc22, Jack McAteer, Jack Akar, Doug Rivet, Hammerschnitz, Tom Reese, Hugh Perry, and Big D Dockin' Dude.
Big D Dockin' Dude.
That is a nice list. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice Thank you guys so much. We'll be live on twitch.tv/Roundtable Podcast this coming Tuesday, which is going to be the 19th, which is the day The Witcher comes out, so you know we'll not be playing that. So if you're looking for somebody to not be playing The Witcher on Twitch on that Tuesday, come hang out with us.
Yes.
Yep.
I might not be there because I might be playing The Witcher.
We'll
You
find
might not be there because you'll be asleep.
Yeah,
right.
if it's
You'll
going to
be
be
off the
anything, I can
podcast.
accept you sleeping, but you ditching us to play The Witcher, you son of a bitch. And I think that's all. I think we got everything. We're good. We're good, right?
All right.
I have to make sure because I've been
Check
known
the list.
I checked it twice. I
Then
want to
you're
find
good.
out who's naughty or nice. Santa Claus is coming next week.
Oh, I
Tuesday.
wish it's too fucking hot here.
Next episode will be the 29th of May. It'll be
We'll have to
episode
record that
9.
earlier.
We will.
Normal.
Yeah, so get ready for another out-of-date Roundtable podcast.
Hooray!
Hooray! All right.
Woo!
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thank
or
you.
listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, guys.
You're all pretty good.
This podcast is entirely supported by you, the listener. To consider supporting us as well as seeing the ways in which you can become a part of the show, visit patreon.com/roundtable.